Hi everyone, I'm Erica. I'm so joyful today. I'm joined by all these authors. We're going to talk about what happens when you're growing and your life's changing and everything's showing up and you shift into expansion. We're going to talk about tools. The authors of this book are so insanely beautiful. I don't even know how I was able to do this. I'm just so blessed. Today, Sylvia Puentes is one of our authors. She is going to be moderating since I'm a little bit And Sylvia, welcome, and then she's going to just welcome our guests, and let's have some fun and expand, just shift.
Awesome. Thank you, Erica. And I am also really excited about having this, what we're calling a marathon, to really introduce and share this wonderful book, The Energy of Expansion, with so many authors that have really contributed what it is they know. And I'm looking forward to actually getting to meet them all. So we can get started. I mean, first of all, I'm Sylvia Puentes. I'm one of the authors in the book, and I'm delighted to be here. There will be a time in about an hour or so, maybe I'll get to share my piece. But right now, I'd like to introduce to you one of our other authors, John Hitler. So, John, welcome. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Glad to be here. Thanks, Sylvia.
Yeah, so I actually haven't gotten a chance to read your book, but I believe the title is Finding Your Genius. Is that correct?
That's what we work with. The chapter's called The Expansion of Genius, I believe.
Ah, beautiful. So anything you can share about what it is that inspired you to write this piece, what it is that you know about expansion with our viewers?
Well, sure. I'll use an example. If let's say you're left-handed, and somebody asked you to paint your living room, but they said you have to do it right-handed. How much of our life do we do that? We say, "Oh my God, this is so hard for me," and there's certain things you should be doing. You were put on earth to do, and there's certain things you shouldn't be. But it's amazing how often I find myself in this boat, but others too, where we're doing things with the wrong hand. And you go, genius is the same way. We all have been given one gift, and I'll call it a gift, of super high-level talent. What if you expanded that talent to the most it could be and lived your life through that genius or through that talent? What would your life look like differently than trying to paint the living room with the wrong hand?
Wow. I'm just that example, I can imagine myself trying to do that. Yeah, I'm sure things would change in all areas of our
or
life.
chop an onion. Try chopping an onion with the wrong hand. You go, you're going to cut your fingers off. Yeah.
Yeah. So in that sense, when you're talking about finding that, what would be one step or one thing that people, if they're beginning to wonder what that is for them, that they may begin to either do or ask themselves?
Yeah, it's a tough question because there's been a lot of books like how-to books, and the problem is it's not a cerebral process; it's an intuitive process. So it's born of spirit. So I've read every book there is on how-to, and I even had a client who read all of them and took a 90-day sabbatical and tried to figure out his own genius by using the how-to books. And what he came with was he couldn't do it. And I knew that because it doesn't come from... If there were a formula, we'd publish it on the internet and everybody would have it.
Right.
Right. So it's tapping into episodes of peak performance and having several of those, 4 or 5. And then literally putting them up on a board and saying, "Oh, that's interesting. What's common to all of them?" And we just see the patterns. And it's a storytelling process. It's very fun. It's about 90 minutes. So that's how we bring it out in people. But until you bring it out, it's hard to expand into it because for most people it's right in front of their face because it's literally part of your DNA.
Yeah.
How do you see it when it comes so naturally to you? You go, well, that can't be genius. It's so easy. And you go, well, it's so easy for you. You go, oh, that's why. And we all have one. So.
Yes, and I love how you said it's not a severe it's not a cognitive piece, and I think we have lived in a time where we function so much from our mind and our thoughts that it's a beautiful invitation. And I have a sense that the entire book is really that invitation about stepping out of the mind into something greater. So
Cherie will talk about that in a minute. It's all of that. It's expanding into everything you can be and using every part of your faculty, your spirit, your mind, your energy, your intention, all of that.
Yeah, awesome. And is there anything else you'd like to share about, even if it was your chapter or the work that you do?
Sure. I have the honor of working with individuals and teams in and around this. We teach and uncover genius, and that's really honor is the best word. It's just an honor to be around people when you uncover who it is they were meant to be. I mean, you're there at the birthing of it, so that's really fun. But then the expansion piece, which is what Erica's all about, what the book is all about, and all the authors, you and Cherie, and we're going to have several more.
Yeah.
Is then how do you take that and contribute who you are supposed to be to everyone around you? To your clients, but to your family, to your spouse, to your kids, to your community, to your volunteer stuff, to your charities. How much more expansive would your contribution on Earth be if you played with your best gifts instead of your lesser, I'll call them your lesser gifts. There's no such thing as a bad talent, but your lesser talents.
This is funny. I just have to kind of, it's just so impossible for me to participate and not participate. I just love it. So I'm hanging out with John. He happens to be one of the relatively small number. I'm just going to hold up the book again. One of the small. First of all, something fun about John. He's the only man. So all these women. He's like, yeah, that's really rough being surrounded by all those beautiful.
I asked Erica if she could surround me with 20 really good-looking, smart women, and it's the first time in my life. And I said, hey, if this is where I get it on the back of a book cover, I'm. I asked her to I wanted her to put me in a mansion like a reality TV show. She couldn't pull it off. Yeah, she couldn't get the clearance for that.
So one of the ways that this manifested itself in my life, just after meeting with John briefly, was we looked at the Happiness Telesummit that I create, and I was really getting bogged down with, this is going to sound like coding. And is coding what Erica does best? No. It's like, hello. I like doing everything else except that. And so when I finished my lunch with him, I actually went and hired someone to do all the parts I hated, and it got a lot more fun.
Yeah. No, and that's a perfect example. We do this because we go, oh, somebody's got to do this coding to get the book out. And you go, I'll do it. You go, why am I doing this? I'm a horrible coder, which means I'm going to screw it up, and that's going to slow down the book. And I hate it. It drains all my energy. It's just not a good. And we do this all the time. Yeah. The only exception that I've found is with parenting, because you can't. There's only certain things you can delegate out in parenting. If you're really not very good at reading your kid a bedtime story, it's not the same that you hire that out. Mom or dad needs to do it. But so for parenting stuff, I sort of get it. But you can hire out a lot of it. If you're stuck at managing homework, you can hire somebody to come in and manage the kids doing homework and take all the stress out of it. And you'll be a better parent because of it. Because then when you are with your kids, you're simply there being with them and loving them, not torturing them and torturing yourself on trying to get homework done. So, yeah, that's the only place I've found that sometimes you have to bend the rules and say, okay, I'm going to do something I'm horrible at because it's a requirement of being a mom or a dad. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
Well, how great is that? So thank you so much, John, just for sharing that little piece. And really, it's almost like there's an energy there as well. So I just would like to invite all our viewers that as you get to meet different authors, that it really just begin to perceive the energy. And you'll have that within each chapter. It'll be different. There'll be different tools, different questions. And I think that's one of the gifts, Erica, that you brought in bringing all of us together.
Yep.
And the gift that one person can pick up that book and read it. And you might just kind of view through the chapter titles and kind of maybe sense which one is calling to you for the day and read that one. and see what gifts are in there. So I'm so excited to actually read all the chapters myself. So,
That's
so
great.
thank you, John, and thank you, Erica, definitely.
That's great. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to your interview with Cherie. I'm very
Yes.
much looking forward to that.
And yeah, so she's coming on next, and I'm looking forward to meeting her as well. Do you know her, John, already? Have you met her?
Nope. We
Oh.
talked a little bit online today, but I'm like you. I'm still meeting and getting to know some of the authors and their expertise, and that's really been a joy. It's been really fun. So.
Yeah, and it is something about, when I received the invitation to join the book, it's like almost tapping into the energy of what was going to get created by writing a chapter and what that was going to contribute. And not having met anyone, for the people watching, it is this sense of like, wow, should I do this? Not even should I, but wow, if I choose to do this, what's this going to create? Will this contribute to more expansion? And in this case, really around the joy of what it is for each of us to live in a world where we're choosing more expansion of, all sorts of different ways. So
yeah. Well, and Erica, this is part of the genius that I saw in your lineup is that there's a spectrum. It's not that everybody does one thing. There's all kinds of different expertise represented, and that's been kind of fun. I've read some of the chapters, and but I'll order my books tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to handing them out to clients, and then I'll read all of them and all the chapters, and I'm really looking forward to that. So,
So thank you so much, Erica. Do you have the cover up or the book cover, just to show everybody once again?
I have to say, our next author, she was one of the very first authors to say yes to the book, and she actually supported me in the creation of the book. So we were chatting about extraterrestrial energy from different planets, and I don't know what it is about this next author that just helps me feel just like expansion's possible. And really what one of her gifts is making the impossible possible. So there you
go. What a great
talk. I'm going to mute myself because you guys go have fun.
What a great way to lead up to Sherry. So thank you, John, and so much. And Sherry Lorison, right?
Yes. Hi.
How are you? Pleasure to meet you. And after what Erica just said about you, what would you like to let us know? What do you know about expansion that you can share with all of us?
Yeah, well, I am learning more and more every day that what you think you have an idea about what is possible. You know it's possible, and you know that there's more possible, but there's this place that you can get to where it's like, is this even real? Like, is this life? Is this real? Am I dreaming? And that is the space that I am continually in, is this pushing possibilities and boundaries and continually being in a space of like, is this life real? And is what I'm experiencing real? Now, I get that you can't understand that, but I mean, because you don't know the experiences that I've been having recently, but I'm just going to throw the word Mars out there and just kind of that's what I'm going to say, and just wow. So I'd love to talk about my book, the chapter in the book, and it is titled Keys to Your Secret Mind. Oh, like, what is that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what if you are already the person that you want to become and you just don't remember? And what if you are already having the experiences you truly desire and you just don't remember? Does that even sound possible?
There's something light about that, yeah.
Right? Okay, so in my chapter, I talk about compartmentalization. And we're all familiar with compartmentalization when it comes to a traumatic experience. So if a little child is involved in a traumatic experience, the mind can compartmentalize that, and the child may not have any memory of that experience. However, we are not aware of compartmentalization when it comes to experiences that push the boundaries of your comfort zone or what you've learned is possible.
Mm-hmm.
So let me tell you that the definition of compartmentalization will help this out. So compartmentalization is your innate ability to separate events, experiences, or thoughts that are in direct conflict with your values, cognitions, emotions, beliefs, and within yourself. So this prevents cognitive dissonance or mental discomfort and anxiety that the event, experience, or thought may have caused. Now, this means that if you were out hanging in the field with your friends and an alien scooped you up and took you in the spaceship, you're not going to remember that if it goes against what you've learned with your parents, in school, on TV. I mean, if you teleported out of your body and went somewhere and that doesn't fit in with what you think should be possible, you are not going to remember this experience. Mm-hmm. Now, it doesn't have to be that extreme. It could be something that is even maybe a little emotional, like having experienced love on a level that you never thought was possible for you. And maybe after that, you experienced negative experiences with love and you started having these new thoughts about yourself. And then that experience of love got compartmentalized because it no longer fit what you thought about yourself. Like if you're a person who thought I can't receive love, or nobody loves me, then your experiences of receiving that full love become compartmentalized. So in my chapter, I share 2 activations to begin the process of decompartmentalization, which means you're going to start remembering things that you can't believe you've forgotten. So you could be having a second life that you can't imagine, which you could be traveling the stars in your physical body, or it could be romance, or just like having this moment of total oneness with the consciousness of everything in a forest one day. And so that's basically what my chapter is about.
Yeah, awesome.
I want to stop her for a moment because here's an example of compartmentalization or decompartmentalization. It took her a long time to teach me those words. I am so flippin' thick-headed. So this is an Emmy award. It's an actual Academy Award. And when I was a child, my mom won this. And I had grown up on the TV set. And so I'd been on TV sets since I was about 7. And I completely, I don't know how to explain it, except what she said, was like, forgot all this knowing that I have about producing television. Was like, it was gone. And as she was talking with me one time, it came flooding back. Because I was like, why is it that I know so much? Like, I don't understand how I could know so much about producing television and why I'm so good at it without trying. And it was fascinating to me. And that's just one example, I love her alien example too, which she has more to tell about that. But Sylvia, does that ring a bell with you? Do you have thoughts like that?
Yeah.
Things like that for you?
There definitely is, and it's almost, for me, they show up almost as whispers. Like it's not like a cognitive clear thought, but sometimes they're whispers. And there's also a sense that, what if we do know a lot more than we think we know? And I think a common term, or you hear kids, adults say, oh, I don't know. It's such a little common phrase we use, and it's like we're not even inviting or looking to tap into our knowing. So it's like, I catch myself too many times when I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's like, well, what do I know? Like even just the phrase of, wow, what do I know here, can invite myself to begin to go, what do I know? And I might not get the answer right away, but there's this space of wow, what is it that you know? And in the body that I work, it really is about, empowering people to tap into that empower them to know that they do know. And I think that is something that we have detached from, or even lost the ability to even ask the question, to tap into what we might know we don't know, we don't even think we know that we know. Something
Well,
like
and
that.
I look at the work that John does in the world, and I'm looking at the work that Cherie does in the world, and I'm fascinated because some of what John does in Evoking Genius really ties into it. It's like it's the genius that you have that you forgot that you have. It's the things that you
Yeah.
do that you forgot that you did. It's the
Yeah.
achievements that you've had. And now for some of us, it involves extraterrestrials.
Yeah. Exactly. So what else do we know that we haven't acknowledged that we know, that if we would acknowledge that we know would change our entire reality? Maybe everything on the planet. I mean, it's this question of what is that? I don't know exactly, but I know that every time I ask that question, it begins to open up and expand a new space of possibilities. And it sounds like, Cherry, that's what you're doing with the work that you're doing, which thank you for that, and thank you for the contribution.
Yeah.
Um, and, and Erica, you brought up this interesting piece of how there is this energy of expansion, of opening up possibilities, empowering all of us, from John's piece, Jerry's piece, and my piece, of all of us, like, wow, what is it that we know? And, what a wonderful thing to have this book just be one way to launch this out to the world, for people to begin to see if there's something there for them. Anything else you'd like to share, Sherry, about your book, or what you'd like viewers to know about you?
Yeah. Well, in the communities that I tend to run in, it's full of people like myself who are just continually trying to improve and grow and expand. And what if you have already expanded, and what if you already have the ability to completely expand in every possible way, but you just can't remember? And literally it is it's literally that simple, and that's why I'm so excited about my 2 activations in my chapter that will begin the process of decompartmentalization. And how fast you will start remembering stuff is like, it's a choice, but I haven't had anyone go longer than 30 seconds before starting to remember something that they couldn't believe that they've forgotten. So
Yeah.
I'm so excited about the book, and I'm so excited to be here.
And I'm excited to read your chapter, so thank you so much. And
thank you.
This piece. John, did you want to add anything? I know you're on mute, but you're still with us. Is there anything
No,
you'd like to
I
add?
took myself off mute. It's
Okay.
I'm like Erica. I can only stay quiet so long. But it's interesting. The piece that made a lot of sense to me, and it is a connection. Cherie and I come at it from a different viewpoint, but it's interesting when you present people with their own power and beauty, which is that's the intersection where I find genius. It's amazing how often they won't go there, and it's not that it's not absolutely crystal clear, but it's the opposite of expansion. It's a decline of being the most powerful human being you can be, and it's sad to watch, and sometimes we can gently invite them forward, but it's amazing how often people will simply not own what's absolutely present. And Cherie does it in a different way, but it's the same sort of experience. You go, what if you could remember just how powerful you were, just how beautiful you were, just like Cherie said, what a great romantic adventure you had, or an experience. But when you don't even consider the possibility, you have no chance.
Right.
No chance whatsoever. So.
Wow. Yeah.
Cool.
I think that's the invitation. It's like, wow, what if each of our chapters invites in a different way just the possibility?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then people will choose what they choose, and it's not right or wrong, and it's just that sense, wow, what if it's just us sharing a different possibility?
Yep.
Wonderful. Well,
Thanks,
you.
Cherie.
Yeah, thank you. And I must say, I love your bubbly energy, so thank you so much. That's a gift. I mean, and that's kind of the piece for myself. It's as I work with people, like really perceiving people's energy. And for me, it's also this knowing of like, what if we each contribute so much more everywhere we go by who we be without having to do anything, but just by who we be in that energy. So already in sharing this time with you, John, and Sherry, and definitely Erica, I mean, we each have this gift of who we be, and that's one of my invitations to people. It's like, what if you could acknowledge, even for the smallest thing, of what a contribution you are on this planet. And I think we've lived for so many years looking at what's wrong with us, what we need to fix, and what if it's time for something different? What if it's time to acknowledge what we are good at, where we shine, and have a little more space of allowance and kindness to allow us to continue to take the next step. Because one of the things that I know zaps my own energy is when there's judgment. And when I'm judging myself, I shouldn't have done that, I should have said this, then there's no room to see the greatness or the gift, my genius, or to even tap into my knowing, because there's so much wrongness in what I'm judging myself about. So what else is possible for all of us as we launch this book? And really, I mean, we're living in an incredible time. I mean, technology, for one, brings us all together. And then really inviting each and every one on the planet to, what if something else is possible we've never considered before?
Mm.
Yeah.
So I get to do this because I'm the publisher. I get to do whatever I want. No, I'm just playing.
Yes.
I would love it if Cherie would lead us in something that she does. And then right after that, I want to tease everyone. I'm going to interview Sylvia because Sylvia is moderating tonight. So I'm going to interview Sylvia about her chapter. But what I would love to do is have Cherie, and we'll just give you maybe a couple minutes, maybe 5 minutes or 7. And she does this thing. And I don't know what it is you do, so I'm totally clueless, where you activate the impossible being possible. Are you willing to do that with us?
Yeah,
Okay,
totally.
cool. So lead us in that, please, babe.
Sure. Let's see here. Okay, so, all right, so I'm just gonna be the energy of infinite possibilities, and pull up anything in your mind that you currently think is not possible for you. Impossible, like the more impossible, the way better. And basically that's going to get neutralized right now if you're willing to allow that to happen. So no matter how crazy it is, just think about it. You can say it out loud if you want to. If you're listening to the replay of this, it still works, and that's awesome. So just pull up anything that, like, what is something that you would love to experience this year that just seems so far-fetched and just so totally impossible, like that really couldn't happen for you. So think about that. Pull that up for me and say it out loud and say anything that you want to. And take some deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Oh my goodness, woo! And since there is no time, I feel everyone who's doing this right now, and that is really awesome. Oh my goodness, that is moving. If you're sensitive to energy, you may feel everything shifting and moving, and I just, oh, how did I get so lucky to do this work and be here with everyone? And okay, let's expand out a bit more than that. So, what would be impossible for you in your lifetime? Yes, pull that up. That is getting neutralized right now. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. The energy of infinite possibilities, and we're going to really expand that bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Way bigger. Oh, my little one's up. Okay, so I'm gonna let that energy keep flowing, and I'm gonna go ahead and pass this back over to Sylvia and Erica.
Thank you.
It's gonna keep flowing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry.
Wow. Could you kind of feel that?
I did. And I loved the question of what have you already labeled as impossible? Like just beginning to go, wow, what have I not been willing to ask for or receive that I've already labeled impossible? So that question started to stir up all this stuff. And so to play with that, I really, yeah, it was fun.
Wow, that was awesome. Well, our next author, I'm going to introduce her, even though she's on the set with us right now. So Sylvia Puentes is a fabulous access consciousness teacher, and we're very blessed to have her with us today. I think sometimes I want to ask you if when you're feeling the energy of this tonight, or whenever you're listening to this, to be in the space of learning not just from the actual words of our guests, but from their energy, from that which they bring and that which they live. Because the way someone lives is going to be true, right?
Yeah.
So Sylvia's story is called Expanding with Kindness and Joy. And she's an author in this beautiful book. And she also agreed to moderate for me tonight because I'm not 100%. So I was getting better than that. Sylvia also invited me on a radio show recently. And I just feel like in sharing with you when things are starting to go right, one thing that Sylvia does that I want to just share with you, she balances this life with her husband, her family, her
husband.
Oh, no husband?
Ex-husband.
I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
So she balances her life with her family, her sister, her mom, her everything, this whole world she has around her. She has a job as well. And she just moves through the world with so much grace. And so thank you for being here with us. And why don't you just tell us about your chapter and kind of what gave you the experience of wanting to write it?
Well, I'm just going to, a piece of what you just said, Erica, yes, and my father's son, a wonderful man, I'm not taking anything away from that, but it's the piece of, you just mentioned that when people look at my life, they might say, wow, Sylvia, you do so much. And yes, there are moments where it's like, wow, there's a lot going on. And there's this beautiful play for me in my world that it doesn't all seem like work, that when I'm being present, when I work for one of the local wineries here, incredible company, that I get to work with employees, whether it be senior leaders, whether it be vineyard workers, and I'm being me. When I'm just being me, there's not this heaviness and there's not this effort in it, as well as when I may have clients in the evening or I facilitate classes on the weekends, or I'm on Google Hangouts during the day, or I'm out promoting online classes. There is, in that sense, a lot. And so this invitation to play with this book, the energy of expansion, like what if when you tap into that energy, whatever you've labeled as tiredness, heaviness, goes away? Or it's just not there as intense, perhaps. So for me, the invitation to write this chapter, it felt expansive. It was like, wow, that whatever that energy was, it was like, wow, that contribution to my life, to the world, how, I don't know, but it felt like a fun platform to play on. So as I chose that, and then it was, the title of the book was there, The Energy of Expansion, and then it was tapping into what it is that I know, just like Sherry just mentioned beautifully. It was like, what do I know about the energy of expansion? And I had to kind of be with what that was for me. And the energies that came up were kindness and joy. And it was that space of, wow, how much does that actually contribute to expansion? So in my chapter, I ask a lot of questions, and then there really is that piece of like, wow, what is it for you? What have you defined kindness to be or not to be, and where have you made it right or wrong? But really looking at where we put all the polarity with it, and then just begin to look at, wow, when you are that space of kindness, whether it's to someone else or to yourself, what does that create out in the world? And that, for me, there's almost this invisible ripple effect, that's unseen. You don't hear it, but you can sense it. When you begin to tap into energy, you can sense it. I see it, and there might be a moment with, someone in class where I'll ask them a question and they get an opening of a possibility, or they begin to see where they've locked themselves up and they see it, something else is available. That, energetically, it's like, and all I know is that something has changed. And what they'll create with that, what they'll choose, I may never know. But I can't deny that something has changed, that something's opened up. And I think that's one of the gifts of a lot of the work that I do.
On our last, I did a Google Hangout for the Energy of Receiving.
Yes.
With Rebecca and Corey and some of the other authors of this book, which came out last month. And one of the things we did is we actually got into some really juicy topics. So I'm going to invite you right now to take us into expansion when things are showing up. So I'm not talking about the phase when you're like in a really bad place in your life. I'm talking about that phase when everything's starting to click.
Mm-hmm.
And you start getting opportunities. And then all of a sudden, a lot of people will hit that place, and they talk about it like it's like a marathon and you're at mile 24 and you're about to get to 26 and you go, and you go crawl into the covers.
Yes.
So, let's ask the question from the audience that we can listen to because we're psychic, right? Yeah. Like, what is it about expansion that makes us feel like, so we get the image of what Shri was talking about with the totally wild, crazy goal that starts showing up and being possible. Our whole life starts changing and shifting. And what is it that we can kind of tap into to kind of allow for more?
Yeah. One of the first things that popped in was the sense of how we've defined that we are just our bodies, that wow, there is that space of like, yeah, just tapping into our bodies, like, wait, this is me, what do you mean expansion? And it starts to sound really weird to some people, like, whoa, where are you going? But that sense like, wow, are we just our bodies, or are we so much more? So when we make things significant, and not that there's not things showing up in life that may be challenging, I'm not saying those things don't show up, but it's more like when you define that you are just your body, it doesn't allow you to tap into that infinite knowing that's out around and everywhere, kind of like Sherry was sharing. So if I can just invite everyone, and for those of you viewing, Erica, for yourself, if you want to close your eyes, but I just want to invite yourself, one, to just become really present of your body. And there's that piece, too, to be really grateful for our bodies. I mean, they do so much for us, right? Day in, day out. Some of us don't eat lunch, don't eat breakfast, or might just, exert our body without really checking in. Body, what do you require? So just take a moment to acknowledge your body and just that space of like, wow, here I am. And just feel your body on the chair or wherever you may be. And you might actually choose to put your hand somewhere on your body and just kind of get that sense of your body, skin to skin, and go, wow, here I am. Take a deep breath. Take another deep breath. And it's almost like beginning to imagine all the molecules through your body. We've defined ourselves as solid, this table, this computer is solid, and yet science, most of us have probably heard that when we look at an object, there is actually more space between it. There's actually more space between us than there is anything solid. So it's like, wow, what if we can tap into that space? And what if we are more space than we've been willing to acknowledge? So now that you're sensing your body, it's just like, would you be willing to expand your awareness outside your body, maybe just 3 inches, all around your body, front, back, to the left, to the right. And then maybe take it out a foot. And if you're doubting if you're doing it, it's almost like some of you, before I even say the words, you're already out. And some of you may even already be out further. But it's that invitation to go further out in every direction, out, out, out. And if you're your awareness is that far out in every direction. What if you could tap into infinite knowing and actually even perceive a future of what your choices will create? And yet your body's still here. It's still a part of you. So it's like, what if you're not so much in your body, but your body's inside of you? And what if you're actually everywhere? And that invitation, those exercises that I've done through the work that I've done with Access Consciousness have invited me to be this expanded space. So when things get quote unquote tough, I expand. And I expand my energy. And it might be, before I need to go have a meeting or I have an appointment that requires, or there seems to be an energy that seems intense, I'll expand. And then it just seems that everything's so much lighter and I'm more present. I can hear people, and then I just kind of know what to say or what not to say, and things flow a lot easier. So what if being in that expansive space would allow you to actually be the energy, space, and consciousness to empower you to know what it is you know and what it is that will change whatever it is that's not working for you. So that is, and you guys, many of you may already begin to feel a little, spacey. And that's sometimes, I think, what many of us resist, because we've lived year after year really functioning from our mind, our thoughts, and figuring things out, that we so quickly go to the head. And to begin to be in the space may seem a little uncomfortable. It's like, where are those edges? Where is that solidity? And what if being a space cadet is okay? What if that's actually more of who we truly be? And what if in that space you actually may be a little more happy, because there's not going to be that heaviness and significance about stuff showing up. You might just know and ask, what next? What next? So
thank you so much for that. That was so beautiful. I really appreciate that. I feel like I want to share, and my kids are being really loud, so we'll see if I can get away with it. So, but at the beginning of this year, I remember I was shown, what if one book came out like each month? And it was a very expansive thought. And then what if we became bestsellers? And what if all Happy Publishing's authors became bestsellers? And this showed up for me in November. And I had not been willing to accept that. I have not been willing to say we're going to be bestsellers, or we're going to invite that, or we're going to have that energy of that. I was kind of in the space of, when I created some of the other books I've created, which were very beautiful, of really not asking the books to become bestsellers. I asked the books just to become. And I was joyful in their becoming. It's kind of like, it's okay if my child is a great hockey player or doesn't pick up a hockey stick. Like, I was okay with the book being whatever. Mm-hmm. But in November, I said to myself, what if all the authors in Happy Publishing were bestsellers in 2015? Like, what would that mean in 2016 for all of them? And so it became not about me. It's so cute. It became about what is the possibility that I was not willing to look at. And I said, well, that feels really good. Mm-hmm. And so this book hit #1 best-selling authors. Nice. So every author in this book, and this is a bit of a dog-eared copy already, which is amazing, this book, actually, all of the authors became #1 best-selling authors. Mm-hmm. And the book itself is so gentle and so kind and so loving and so warm. And the chapters in this book are so sweet, like the sweetness of them. Mm-hmm. It's like, it doesn't even, like, it defies any kind of rational feeling that a book this kind could exist. It's so warm and kind. And then this book came running up. Like, oh my gosh, like, oh my gosh, this book's energy, Cherie. And if you look at the composition of the authors, look how much consciousness jumped into this book. And I'll just do a little close up. So if you look at the consciousness in this book, it is off the chart. And the book itself was a way of teaching what you all are living, which is this infinite space of possibility.
Right.
And when I just said yes to this crazy idea of one book per month, which I'm pretty sure I'm still insane to be doing that. When I was a yes to that whisper that Sylvia was talking about, when I was open to the whispers of consciousness and I said, yes, I'm a yes, really everything in the whole world shifted and changed. And so this book kind of brought that to the table, and I just wanted to share that as we go forward. And Sylvia, I'm going to throw it back to you, babe.
Thank you, Erica. There's several couple pieces of that you said and you mentioned about that you started to ask a question. You started to ask, what if? And that space of when we do begin to ask a question, the whole sense of like, wow, what is it about asking that actually invites things to show up? So you're like, what would it take for, every author in the book to become bestseller? And so what have you created? It just invite, like, what if the question really does empower us to tap into our knowing? So it's like, what questions are we asking? And oftentimes we're not. We're functioning from conclusions, decisions, and judgments, computations that are only creating more of that, rather than really tapping into those infinite possibilities of like, wow, well, what would it take? What would it take, for me to be interviewed on TV? As simple as that. It's like, what would it take? And then you kind of leave it out there. It's not so much about even looking for the immediate answer, but it's going like, okay, universe, show me. And then those whispers or those interactions, all of a sudden you get invited to go to a birthday party that all of a sudden someone shows up and they're talking about that or invite you to go on. So it's just interesting how the universe works. And it's not even about the how, which I think John mentioned earlier too, that it's not even the how so much. It's just like, are we willing to ask and let the universe do the how piece? And we just keep going, okay, where do I go? What do I do? So that's exciting. And Sherry, you're back with us. Hi.
Yeah. Hi, Sylvia. Actually, I want to ask you something.
Yes.
So I've been into, inviting consciousness and, kind of waiting for things to show up. And then I realized I haven't actually asked. So, if things aren't showing up, you feel like you're asking because you're in a space of wanting or desiring, but that's not asking, is it?
Well, is it? What do you know?
Well, I would say that it's kind of being on the fence.
Mm.
And so I've discovered that the asking is getting into the demanding. So I've moved into the space of demanding, and that feels like asking with your whole body, your whole being, with everything. So the distinction of you may not be actually asking even though you think you're asking is something that I've learned quite recently. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you so much. And one of the things we've actually been, has come up recently in the body of work of Access Consciousness is that many of us have a back door. We have a back door that we kind of use where we're not 100% committed in our lives. So if there is something, oh yes, I would want to be a millionaire, say, right? It's like, okay, but you have a back door that keeps you, that actually every time you you're quitting on yourself and you're not choosing to keep going forward by using that back door. And sometimes we don't even acknowledge what those back doors are for ourselves. Like, what is that back door for you? And it's just kind of being in the question. It's like, wow, what's my back door? What am I using as my back door? And I know that for me, in committing to my life in a whole different way, when I first was asked the question, when this came up, it's like, wow, I asked myself, I'm like, am I committed to my life? And I actually got a no, which was crazy because I thought, wait a moment, I thought I was. But when I tapped into the energy, it didn't feel like yes. It was like, no, I'm not. Like, wow, what does being committed to your life look like?
Ooh, I'm writing this down.
Yes. And really, those questions are really fun because you get to play with them. And again, it's not even the answer that you're looking for immediately. Just allowing it to percolate and kind of, wow, what would it look like to be committed to my life?
Right.
Yeah.
Can
And,
you explain, Sylvia, what you mean by backdoor? Because we have some people on the call who actually aren't really familiar with that term, and so when you talk about being committed to your life, I feel like in expansion, really, there's nothing that would not be anything but like perfect to sit and explain a little bit.
awesome. So backdoor is things that we have either constructed in our lives. I guess maybe I'll start with an example of myself. Which one? Um, backdoor. Wow. Okay. So, I mean, money kind of came up, it was like, oh yeah, when we say, yeah, I want to be a millionaire, right? Or, I want to generate all this money. It's like, and we say that, and yet there's maybe a few actions that we take to make that happen. And yet, how many of us or how many people are either actually waiting for their tax return right now at this time period, right? Either waiting for a big tax return, hopefully, or waiting for an inheritance, or actually, oh, I could always use my credit card, or I'll tap into my savings, right? Or, I'll take out equity in the house. So what if maybe those are also examples of back doors? So if you were to shut those back doors and say, okay, the money's coming, it'll be here, but I'm not going to use the credit cards. Not that it's right or wrong, but it's just like, if you were to shut those back doors, what would you have to create and commit to yourself to create? And what actions and choices would you need to make in order to have what it is that you're asking for? So that's one example. And here's another one, a more personal one too, is, I was married for 17 years and happily married actually. Certain things started showing up as we both started to expand in different ways. And there was the moment when the first thought of separation showed up. And it was such a quick thought, which was so fascinating. And the quick thought was like, I can't do it on my own. And it was from the financial perspective, it's like, I can't do it on my own. And then I quickly kind of shook my head. I was like, wow, that's interesting. Because at that time, I could have taken on the mortgage. I could have been, but it was such this quick thought. So it's like, how many things are we using? How many thoughts are we using as back doors to not continue to choose what works for us? So as I now did choose divorce, and interesting enough, that felt the most expansive in my world. It's that I now had to generate and create my life and living from being committed to creating that. In the divorce process, when you're married for more than 10 years in California, you can continue to keep an back door open and say that any time in your life you can receive spousal support. And I actually considered leaving that open. And there came the moment where it was like, I remember the thought was like, wow, do I keep it open or not? And I thought, wow, I'm using it as a back door not to create and generate even more. So I signed it off. So, it was just interesting to become aware of that. So my question is, what is it for you, the viewers and, the listeners now or later? It's like, what are you using? And it can sound sometimes like an excuse or like just that crutch that you might be having in your life. Like, well, if that doesn't work, I have this. Well, if that doesn't work, I have this. And it's really saying, okay, if I let that go completely, what would I have to then choose to actually have and receive everything?
Beautiful.
Does that bring some clarity to the back door?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally, totally. And no one ever did that before. Not me.
Yeah. And I'm still looking at that in my life. Like, wow, what other back doors do I have that I don't even want to see?
Right.
Because you might get a glimpse. You're like, okay, I'm going to ignore that back door. I know it's there, but I don't want to see it. And it doesn't mean you have to shut it. Like, what if it doesn't even mean you have to shut it? And if, for me, the invitation and a lot of the work that I do is like, what if you can, just out of the space of kindness, go, how many doors do I have that I've left open as back doors? And then go, okay, if I didn't have to shut any of them, would I be willing to see them?
Wow.
And then when you see them, what if then it's just a choice? So
that's powerful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
How does it get any better? Yay! So we kind of gave a few examples there, Eric, and I hope the listeners, I don't know if you're reading comments or the viewers have any other questions about that. But what's coming up for you, Sherry?
I'm taking notes. I'm sitting here wondering what back doors do I have that I'm not willing to be aware of, and by you saying that you don't have to shut them, that's so expansive. It gives you choice, because it feels like if you are aware of the back door, then common sense would say that you have to close it, but that's not true at all. You can choose. You can just keep them open for the rest of your life and then change your mind at any second. So yeah.
And one of the other pieces that I've discovered too, when we are in that space of allowance and kindness with ourselves, that we allow ourselves to really be clear on what's not working, whether it's the back door or something else, when you can do it out of the space of allowance and kindness, then you're willing to look at it. And science tells us, right, that when you look at something, it changes. So what if that is the greatest gift, when you're just willing to be aware of, wow, this is here, it's not working, okay, do I want to change it? Would I like to change it? No, okay, fine. But it's just the willingness to look at it. What if that already begins to change? So for me, that's the greatest invitation. Are you willing to be kind with you? Are you willing to be in the space of allowance with what you have chosen this far? With what you have created? Because what if we have created everything in our lives, the good, the bad, and the ugly? And as powerful as we were to create that, we can actually change it as well. So,
that's super expansive. The willingness to look at it can change it. That takes weight off. Yeah. Wow.
The other thing that I saw when you were talking was, it was like, when you have a mind like mine, which is highly ADD, and I love having 25 projects going at all times. I look back at college, and I liked it when I had 16 units, in a quarter system where 12 is full, where 3 or 4 unit classes is full, and I liked having more. It was like I was happier with more. And then we get told so many ways, you need to narrow your focus, you need to only do one thing, you need to teach this, you need to be good at that, you need to get your expertise in this narrow thing. And that's great if that's how you work. And one of the things I saw when you asked, am I living fully in my life? Am I committed to my life? I was like, that was a major aha for me, Sylvia.
Yeah.
That was a major aha. And I can't even really define it, except I was able to see when you were talking how your energy, when asked to move in a direction, but given more freedom, and given more joy and given more excitement about that freedom, I was just really able to see that when you were talking, Sylvia, so thank you for that.
You are so welcome. My pleasure. And how does it get any better than that? Well, here we have another author that just joined us. Yay! So I'm really excited to meet another author and actually get to present her. Tracy, I don't know if you've been listening in, but we've been on for maybe about an hour, and we got to speak with John, we got to speak with Sherry, and now we get to hear from you. So welcome, and it's Tracy. Why don't you go ahead and share a little something about you, introduce yourself, since I don't know a whole lot about you. Nice to meet you.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you as well. I am obviously one of the very blessed and honored authors of this incredible book that we are launching tomorrow. There it is! Yay! I'm so excited. Oh, Erica, seriously, I'm so grateful to you for this. And, it's sort of, for me personally, my stepping out into the space where I get to share with the world the knowledge that has been blessed to me, and the experiences that I'm having, and I get to have this lovely opening and share with you all, and tell you a little bit about what's going on and who I am. So I am and I put it in the chapter a little bit. But I'm a seer. I have been gifted the ability to see and connect, and that's, thank you. This is with. Ooh, does anybody else hear that?
No. What do you hear?
No. Oh my goodness. Okay, so there's something going on with my computer. I'm so sorry, folks. All of a sudden, I had like something else chime in. I'm having some bizarre computer issues, so I apologize. But needless to say, I am still here. So, yeah, so a little bit of sorry about that. It was a distraction. Modern technology, gotta love it, right? Yeah, so I'm a seer. I've been able to see beyond this world, and in the last, I want to say, short period of time, I have had just a huge awakening, and I now know what I believed before, but had not truly experienced myself. And so I have expanded beyond what I thought I was capable of expanding to. And I wake up every moment, I'd say every day, but every time I move my eyes, I find another. Oh my goodness, I have some other stuff. Do you guys hear all this? What is going on? This is so bizarre.
I don't hear anything. Do you hear anything? Oh, it looks like we lost her, so maybe she'll call back in. And since this is a marathon, I don't know about you guys, but I have ran a half marathon, and you tend to get a little dry in the mouth. I do have my water. So if I pick up a glass, that's it. It's a marathon. We need to stay hydrated, right? So, I mean, we just continue, and as soon as Tracy comes back on, we'll continue with her. Oh, that looks like she might be joining us now. And there you go. There you go. Yay! Take it away.
Hey, I had to
Well, you know, I can come on and just tell a little bit about Tracy and what was going on with us when I met her. I felt this feeling of, first of all, kindred spirit. I felt like she had, how do I say this? She had underestimated her beauty, her grace, her magic. She had kind of let in things into her space. I don't really know how to say it. It's like I felt such a kindred spirit because of my experiences and everything that I've gone through in my life. And I just wanted to take this beautiful flower of beingness and all the risks she's taken, and she's a mom, and all the things she's gone through, and just celebrate the Tracy of Tracy. And so, Tracy, you were invited very intentionally into the space of this book to help be part of that expansion and that knowingness that no matter what we have experienced or been through, the light is present at all times. And so that was like the energy in the space that I was bringing you into as you're going through a major expansion. So I just want every single author in this book to know that everyone was exceptionally, intentionally brought in, that I really honor the greatness within each of you.
Wow. Erica, thank you so much. Yeah, I truly appreciate that, most definitely. I am going through just one of the greatest transformations of my life. You know, personally, I have a lot going on. I am a mother of two beautiful and amazing children, and you know, and having that role gives me the opportunity to be a teacher. And so with the experiences that I've had recently, I've really come to understand that I'm here to also teach others. And the light that you talk about is the light that shines within all of us. And we need to recognize that. I think that because of how we are culturally, we're raised, we're not really identifying with that light. We don't look in the mirror. We don't spend time really, loving who we are and being with ourselves and taking the time to really understand who we are. And who we are is not who we think we are. It's really not. It's much grander and deeper, and it's all an illusion of who we think we are and who we portray in the world, and we can expand beyond that. But we kind of get stuck sometimes in these ideas of who we think we are, and I'm really hoping to help bring out the light in other people and help them identify their own true nature.
Beautiful. And I think that's a piece of what we've all been talking about. Mm-hmm. It has been, through different paths, tapping into the gift that you be. And I love how you said, and it's like, really, what if it's not what you think? What if you aren't who you think you are, or what if you're so much more?
Right. And you are, and that's just it. It's like, we are constantly mind focused, and the truth is that the energy of who we are is exponential. It's we're all connected. We're all a part of that same energy, and that energy is so incredibly powerful. And yet we don't give ourselves that kind of credit. We live in this illusion. I love to say it's really an illusion, and and there's so much more. There's so much more, and as we sort of sit back and recognize that, we can observe our life and realize that what's happening with the stories that we're telling and the things that's happening and going on is just that. It's just a story. It's not who we are, I mean, who I was 10 minutes ago is very different than who I was 30 years ago, and and potentially another lifetime, who knows? It's like, but who I am never changes. That energy, that essence of who you are and who I am never, ever changes. And that's what we need to wake up to,
It's funny powerful. It's funny you say that, because I've been doing the body of work that I've been doing, Access Consciousness, for now maybe about 4 years. And in that journey, there maybe a year, 2 or 3, people started to ask, so what's changed? And it kind of took me by surprise, because I almost forgot what it had been like, or how I had been living and functioning from, because I was just more of me. So it's not like adding anything. It's almost like polishing whatever is really there to just have it shine. So it's like that piece. It's just, I feel more me than ever. I think years in the past it was living on top of, or underneath, more better said, it's like of what I should do, shouldn't do, what I learned at school, what I learned at home. And it's like beginning to take all that off and go, wow, who am I, right? Like if I was choosing to live my life from the space of what I would like, what would that be?
Right.
So,
yeah, most definitely. It's actually, when you come home, basically, it's taking away all that stuff. It's the polishing's really just taking you down to eliminating all of that identity, that that filter. And when you get right down to it, who you are, it's pure consciousness, and that's what's so incredibly beautiful and so incredibly powerful. And and as we sort of polish it, like you're saying, I love that term. It's really beautiful. It's it's the light that comes out. It's the shining grace and beauty of who we are. And each one of us has this beautiful light inside of us, and it's bright. It's so bright. Yeah. But we don't think it is. So it's like got all this muck on top of it, and and it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't. There's a way to be who you are and really understand and connect in a way that is peaceful, and you find inner peace and grace, you know, and life flows, and there's all of the all of the abundance and the beauty and the things that we're always seeking outside of ourselves. You know, we find it's really within us. We don't need for anything truly. Everything we need is inside of us, but we tend not to think that. It's a mind thing.
And that's the gift of some of the questions or the things that we've been talking about today. It's really like, how do we invite people to tap into that for themselves? Because I can't tell anyone, hey, you're this, you're that. Like, you know, I mean, we're talking about it right now in that sense, but it's like really inviting from a question of like, wow, well, what do you know? What is it that you would like? And if there's no right or wrong answer, then it's just like, well, today this, and then maybe tomorrow that didn't work, or that wasn't, you know, so great. What else could I choose? But that willingness to play and continue to be in the question of what else would be fun for me? What else is true for me that I've never been willing to acknowledge or even consider?
Right. So I have a question for you, Tracy.
Yes, dear.
I feel really blessed because I'm bringing all these people together who've never met each other.
Right. I know. I mean, I love everyone. This is great.
I feel so spoiled. But if you could tell us a little bit about color and chakra, would you mind just sharing a little bit about, like, I don't know, you just have so much gift in that area, and feel like asking you to share that with us.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, for those of you, I mean, you know, the chakra system, there's our 7 main chakras, and you know, it's the color of the rainbow, right? And there's the energies of which each are a part of a whole. You know, that beautiful white light that we are, you know, takes that prism and brings it into our bodies. And so so funny you should ask this, actually. The ideas that sort of surround the chakras, people don't necessarily understand the different energies that they are, but they really connect not only our body but our mind and our spirit. And the essence of these energies is it's color based. So for instance, you know, we have the idea of chakra living. I talked with Erica about this, which I think is why she brought this up. But it is the idea that, you know, your red chakra is your root chakra, right? This is your security. This is where, you know, if you have lower back pain, or you have, you know, issues with, you know, security, abundance, these things, you know, you may have this energy blockage there. And there's ways with the chakras to be able to open them up, to be able to release the blockages and the tension that's there. And they get clogged up with different experiences that we have in our lives. You know, childhood traumas happen, different experiences that we have, you know, just sort of change the filters. And even just day-to-day things that, you know, energies that we pick up. And so if we can use the idea that, you know, there's different, call them maybe portals, I think is maybe a good way of saying it, of energy that we can tap into. If we focus our energy on clearing them, then, you know, we can affect other aspects of our lives. So, for instance, you know, red, you know, the red chakra, the root chakra, wear red. You know, if you feel that there's an area of your life that, you know, is needing to come out, perhaps you need to find your voice, wear blue. You know, really start to open up and think about the different aspects of color with reflection of the energies that are associated with the energies within your body. And if we can sort of harmonize all of them, you have a sense of flow in all areas of your life. And so this is one of the things actually I'm looking forward to in the future teaching about is exactly this relationship between color and chakras. So thank you, Erica. I appreciate that.
And
I don't
it's
know,
wonderful.
Sylvia, I don't know how much you know about, any of that.
I don't. I mean, I know they exist, but I had never taken a class or gone into depth about chakras or color. Yeah. So, yeah. And does your chapter have a little about that or?
Not at all, actually.
No, I just do it.
It's just an awesome private
it.
conversation that Erica and I have had shared. So
I did. I admit. I use the chakras a lot. So the base root is red, and then the creativity is the second chakra, which is the woman area for women, and it's money and creativity is in that second chakra. One of the places that we get that's with the energy of expansion. I'll just hold up the book again. As I can. Sorry, it's the only one printed so far. So, the third chakra is yellow, and that is the self chakra. Often mothers and women, people in families, totally lose track of the yellow because they take care of everyone else. And so some of the work of Access Consciousness, I don't think it's aware of what it's doing, but it is awakening that self chakra, which is, it's called ego, but it's really a different energy than that. It's a self-care.
yeah.
So it's a self-honor, which if you've been abused, such as some of, name me, you're going to be losing power in that yellow chakra. The green is the heart chakra. Okay, so that's here. And these are things that I use basically daily in everything I do. So I really love the chakra energy. Blue is the throat chakra. That's the communication piece. And that's the singers, the speakers. Shri, you have a very advanced blue chakra. So you may not know this, but it's basically, yeah, you do. It's exceptional. So just so you know, your blue is very amazing. And then this here is the third eye chakra. And in this book, well, this is definitely one of the areas where Tracy is gifted. And this is the third eye seeing chakra. And I would think all the work everyone's doing in Access is awakening the third eye chakra, because it's our seeing without seeing and our knowing without knowing. It's when we know something to be true before we know it. It's when we don't get on the airplane that crashes. It's the third eye chakra. It's when we know things about people that prevent us from getting into relationship with the wrong people. And it's also where we have so much knowing sometimes that we want to shut it down because it's hard to manage all that knowing. And then the violet light chakra is above us, and that it has a really beautiful. That's the connectivity with God chakra, or the connectivity with universe chakra, and that piece is where when you start to write and your whole chapter comes in, that's that chakra being open and flowing. It's a combination of blue and that, yeah. So I think that's maybe just chakra 101 because we can and we're here and we're having fun. So Sylvia, it looks like we have a few more minutes till Kim comes in. My voice is really going.
Yeah, I can hear it. So, Sylvia, right? That voice
so
is
do
fine.
something fun. Do something fun before our next guest comes, or let Tracy say her thing.
So,
well, no, that's okay. I mean, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, is there something else you'd like to add? Because you're right. I mean, you and I had never met, and it's, really happy to meet you and see you. But is there something else that you'd like to share with the people viewing about the energy of expansion, of what is possible?
Yeah, you know what? Absolutely. It's actually funny you used the word viewing. The other word viewing is that exactly it? Is that we actually are the viewer in our life. And in the chapter that I have put together, it really sort of goes through kind of a metaphor of how our life is very much like a movie, and that we play all these different parts. We're the director, we're the actor, and yet we're still the moviegoer. We're the ones sitting in the audience with the popcorn and watching it play out. but you know, who's watching it play out, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't sit and take time to actually observe our lives. You know, we're constantly pretending as an actor, or we're constantly directing, you know, what we're doing, what we're going, and you know, and all of these ideas of past and future. We're never really present with the knowing of who we are that is watching everything else that's happening, and that our life is a story, and our story unfolds, and as it unfolds, it expands. And we, as the the viewer, have the ability to expand it as great and as grand as we want it to be. And it's just a story of something that's holding us back. And that's just, you know, it's just a story. It's not, none of it is the energy of who we are. And who we are is so, again, incredibly powerful. And that's what I want to really hit home, you know, is that that, you know, we are all energy. We are all connected. We are all one. And we have infinite source to anything and everything we want to do, have, and be.
Yay. Well, thank you. Thank you
My
so
pleasure.
much. And you're welcome to stay on if you'd like.
Oh, yeah, no, I will, absolutely.
Yay. And I get to introduce our next author. So one more fabulous addition to the bunch. And so thank you. And it's Dr. Kim, correct? You're on with us. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing well. I have my water, so you might see me reach out for my water. I was just making a funny joke earlier. We are doing a marathon, so I got to make sure to hydrate.
You especially are doing a marathon, and you look gorgeous. So.
Oh, thank you. Well, welcome. You know, we're meeting for the first time, and so happy to be co-authoring the book with you, The Energy of Expansion. And you know, Erica's popped it up a couple times. She has the one and only copy at the moment, and you know, we're really, there she goes. And it is a beautiful book. And you know, Kim, what would you like to share with us about who you are, first of all, and then you know your chapter, or I would love to hear.
I am a physician. I'm an emergency medicine physician, and I've been on this amazing, very expansive journey of understanding my health, how the body heals, how I can help other people access those higher levels of well-being and healing energy. The energy that makes us is the energy that makes us whole, the energy that heals us. And when we can access that, our body can literally overcome every illness that's ever been known to man. So as a doctor and a healer, it's been my work, my life's work, to find ways to really harness that healing potential. How do we, you know, if the body heals itself, how do we tap into that? And why in a particular person at a given time is that not happening? Why is someone experiencing anxiety, depression, autoimmune disease, cancer, you know, you name it, overweight, not living at your ideal weight? And your health and well-being, in my experience of it, is really not about, you know, my husband and I were talking the other night, Sylvia, he's a physician too, and I said, what would you say, you know, what do you think most doctors would say is the absence, is health? And he said, the absence of disease. And I showed him my paper, and I said, that's, you know, that's exactly what I had. And you know, I talked about, you know, what do you think health means, and what do I think health means? And both of us have a very expansive concept of what that really is, because we've both been in that state of vibrance and well-being, and when you're expanding into more, into your growth, and then on the opposite side of being contracted, where you're like, oh my God, I can't even stand this, and I don't want to be here anymore, whether it's a disease diagnosis or it's just feeling contracted. That, and the work I've done in the, you know, I have a best-selling book called The Mind Body Toolkit, and the chapter I put in the energy of expansion really distilled a lot of the essence of that book into my chapter. Nice. That feeling of contraction creates the chemistry that causes disease. It creates the inflammatory chemistry. It creates the stress chemistry, cortisol, that, you know, even if you are eating everything right, you can gain weight and get overweight and diabetes and all kinds of things because of that stress chemistry. That's the chemistry of contraction, which is the opposite of what we're talking about here. And I know this collaborative book is such a genius way for someone to get a gist of how can I get into that energy of expansion. Because, you know, as a physician and then other healers and everyone has a different take, we're all giving a different color and a different piece of tools for how to connect with that. So for me, it's really about that mind-body connection of how the mind and body are one, and how does that heal the body physically and literally reverse disease so we live in our highest state of vitality.
Well, I so love that you're sharing what you're sharing as a doctor, because I think there's a lot of people, when you start talking about energy, people go, woo, right? And you're really bringing the science to it all. I definitely know in my personal life that when things feel heavy and contracted, it is no fun. And I tend to like to have fun, you know, but it's that sense that almost the word disease, dis-ease, when you're not in your living with ease, then what is that, right? And what would it take to change it? So, and it's actually some of the terms that we use in Access Consciousness is light and heavy. And heavy is that what you're talking about, that contracted state. And what if whenever there's that heaviness, it's when you're actually buying a lie, or there's something there that's not true for you. And when you can kind of then begin to live your life more from that space of lightness, then actually that does create even more energy, more vitality, more joy, and you tend to kind of flow with everything that you have going on. So thank you for that. And your other book sounds exciting too. So
well, I'm so excited to connect with all of the people in this group, even beyond just this collaborative work we've done, because I love the Access Consciousness tools. They are fascinating. And I was telling someone yesterday that you know, my work, and I use like mind body tools, mind body techniques, it's the same thing. It's just different ways of accessing it. But when I've learned the energy work, you know, it's like this, the energy tools or Access Consciousness, it's the same thing, because we're dealing with the same truth of what we are, and we are energy. Scientifically, we can see that there's these cells, and they're made of molecules, and they're made of subatomic particles and electrons and neutrons, and like I studied that. I majored in chemistry, and you know, studying quantum physics was like, it blew my mind, because if you really understand it, you will never be the same. And I studied it, and I was like, wait a minute. And it literally rocked my world. And I was looking at my professor. I did like an intensive training for specifically quantum physics. And I was like, wait a minute. Go back. What are we really talking about here? Because he wasn't like blown away. And I was like, no, this changes everything. This changes everything you understand about who we are and what we are and how things work and what life is. Not just like, what's the table, what's the chair. What is life? How is everything's in motion, constantly in motion. Nothing's solid, nothing's static, and nothing's separate. And so I was fascinated with the science of that, and then of course as a physician, fascinated with how that applies to the body, how that applies to health, and then like you're saying, the well-being that seeps into our relationships, comes through in expressing our genius, so seeps into our work, our career, our money. Every aspect of our self-expression, of our experience of life, has to do with accessing that energy and expressing it at our highest level. So for me, and my husband was kind of saying the same thing, for us, what health is so far beyond that idea of the absence of disease. What health is all of that ideal, authentic self-expression and divine connection with people you love, like authentic connection, a heart-to-heart connection where you really see someone and you really feel seen. And it's also in your money, with feeling that sense of security, solidarity, and freedom. In your work, with expressing your genius, your own unique genius. So all of these pieces make up what I consider to be the total well-being, or what I call radical health. Because I like it. What you learn also when you understand that we're energetic beings is that my energy affects everyone and everything around me. So there have been some really interesting ways I've applied that in medicine.
Yeah, and actually early on at the beginning of the Google Hangout, we were talking a little bit about that that energy that we be, whether we speak or not, you can walk into a room and change the energy of a room. And I think sometimes we don't realize we have that impact or that actually contribution and gift, by who we choose to be.
And we don't realize that we have, when it's the opposite effect, the negative effect. If I harbor anxiety and I walk home and I tell my kids, oh, mommy's great, and have a big smile on my face, and I think that they're not going to be negatively impacted by the suppressed anxiety. Well, what I've seen in my practice is that when I'm treating, and I work with adults primarily, when I'm treating adults, they'll tell me like, oh my gosh, my kid has no more behavioral problems. My kid doesn't need to go to the therapist anymore. My kid no longer needs anxiety medication. He doesn't have night terrors anymore. So I started to apply this work for families, helping parents who have their kids have challenges, and we'll do some of the work with kids. But kids, Sylvia, it's like, boom, they're done. One treatment, one session, 15 minutes. And the adults, it's amazing what happens when I work with, typically it's a mom, what happens with her husband, what happens with her children, what happens with the finances. It's like all the world collaborates in that energy of expansion to serve everyone's well-being and health. It's incredible because of that way that we're connected.
Yeah, I actually work with families and kids as well, and oftentimes when I'm either they're doing a speaking engagement or a class, we're so quick to go, oh, but I need to help my son, and he has these certain issues.
Yes.
And one of the things that I've discovered in working with the families is that when we do start to do that work ourselves, and that's where I invite the parents. It's like, wow, if you do begin, we're getting some echo, there we go. But it's like when we do begin to look at, it's like, wow, what could I do in my own life for myself? Like, where am I being kind for myself? Where am I, not giving myself that space or being that space for me? It's like once people start to look at that and change that, you're right. I hear the same thing, that everything else starts to flow. I've seen it in my own life. I have a 16-year-old who the ease in his world's amazing. I mean, he's happy, things come up, but he knows he can change them. And, people have said, Sylvia, do you realize it's because the way you're functioning and what you're choosing? It's like, wow, it's incredible to see that connection and how kids especially are so aware. I mean, I think we all are aware of everybody around us, whether it's at the office, whether it's, I don't know, at the grocery store, wherever it may be, that we are perceiving those energies all the time.
One of the other important points, too, I think especially with the Happiness Telesummit, the energy of expansion and the energy being so high, I think one of the most important points to weave through here is that expansion and contraction are equally important and can be equally honored, and that the point of expansion isn't to not be in contraction. Mm-hmm. The point of expansion is to allow the contraction to serve the expansion. So the way I've played with this in the last year, because I've learned it the hard way, is that if anxiety comes up, right, like in that past it'd be like, all right, let me make the anxiety go away. So now I'm resisting what is, and whenever I'm resisting, it's not self-acceptance and unconditional love, the ease of what creates expansion and what creates that healthy chemistry. So it was this little bit of a conundrum for me, and for so many of the people I'm working with, it's that almost the inauthenticity of like, but I gotta be happy and expand. And it was a little bit destructive for me, because then it was like, this is not authentic. There's more to the picture. So we need to equally appreciate, honor, and embody contraction, which is that space of, it's like when you're the seed breaking through the hull, you're no less a flower than in the flowering stage, but it's in that hull stage where you're like, you're growing, you're expanding, but it like hurts, and you're in this tight confines. And the confine is the old limitation, the old belief, the old, perspectives that maybe served you in the past, and maybe even helped you survive, but now in this stage, they are getting too small, so they're tight and there's pain. But it doesn't mean it's bad or it's wrong or you did something wrong or you got to fix the problem. So it's such an art, Sylvia. It's such an art. That's why we practice and we grow, and you connect with other people like, yourself, and getting together with, or even just reading a book like this. It will change you. it will resonate with something in you. And so the book isn't meant to be like, oh, let me be happy. And people used to say to me like, oh, I know you're like all positive with your medical practice is all about positive. And I'm like, oh, it's so really, really not. Because being positive or trying to be positive will kick your butt. Because, you know, you can embrace love and embody with grace excruciating pain. The point is to release resistance, not be positive. It's to be authentic. It's to be truthful. So if you're enraged, you're like, oh, I'm so enraged. You embody it fully, but you feel the somehow the full aliveness in that quote-unquote negative or painful experience. And that's what allows you to have that yin and yang that makes the expansion so complete, is allowing that contraction to be equally as real.
Well, it's interesting when you said that. One a memory came up of one time. I was driving home and I was ready to cry, and I was just ready to sob. In my world, my story, I had every reason to be, right. So I'm driving home and I'm all, you know what? I'm just going to go for a drive, and I'm going to allow myself just to cry and give myself permission. And I drove away, and it was like, okay. Like, just that alone, something changed, and it was so funny. That's what you're saying when we're resisting things, like, I shouldn't be crying, I need to pull it together. And sometimes when we just allow ourselves to be with whatever energy is, like, what if that can change it? So, that space of, I think you said something that for me sounds like a lot of kindness too. It's like when you're not judging something right or wrong, and when you are perhaps perceiving an intense energy, when you just allow it to be, like, what would that gift and what would that change?
Yes. I think it's important to note that, because I think for a lot of people that are drawn to this work, it can come from that urge to feel great all the time and think that that's sort of how you're supposed to feel, that if you're in well-being, that then you feel great all the time. And nothing will disturb your health more than that idea. Nothing will disturb your life more than that idea.
There's a tool that we use in Access Consciousness that's one that's really helped me and many others, is that oftentimes just that we can perceive so many energies of people around us, that one of the first questions I go to when I feel intensity, it might be an emotion, it might be a looping thought, but it's like, wow, truth, does that belong to me? Or who does that belong to? Because we're so aware that what if the neighbor next door might be super angry, and all of a sudden you feel angry, and you're like, wow, where did that come from? But if we can begin to ask ourselves, wow, who does that belong to? There's been moments where I've asked that question, and all of a sudden it's just like, oh, then I could breathe, and I was like, wow, it doesn't belong to me. I'll return it to sender with consciousness attached. It's just that sense of like, because the truth is, it's like, when it's not yours, you can't change it. And it's oftentimes there's a lot of those issues we keep dealing with, and they're not going anywhere.
Yeah. And then you're stuck trying to change. That's what I see a lot in families, is like trying to fix the problem. Oh, I gotta fix my kid. Oh, you help kids? All right, well, my kid has a problem, but I'm okay. I'm on Zoloft, so I'm okay now. But my kid's having all this anxiety. And I remember it was a few weeks back having to just like clear my own system, because I got so fired up about that, because I'm like, oh my God. But to approach that person with love and compassion, because we don't always get it. We don't always see the forest for the trees. Like, we don't always get in our own lives. Like, you could be so clueless and so well-intended at the same time. Like, she's a great mom. But I did have a lot come up for me around that, because a little bit in my family, it was that way. Like I was sort of the problem. But it was like I was very sensitive to the energies around me, and everyone around me wasn't exactly owning their pain. There was stuff coming up. And that's true for a lot of us. It's sometimes hard to own our own energy, our own pain, our own anxiety, and then that affects others around us. So if you notice, like, wow, everyone's always yelling at me, and people are always blah, 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 it will always, always, always be some form of an expression of an energy you've held but not been able to fully embody. So if you haven't been able to really own your anger, like embody it, and it's allowed, and I can express anger, and I found healthy ways. if that hasn't happened, you can suppress it so much, you're literally not conscious of your anger. Like, I'm not an angry person, but everyone around you is like honking their horn and giving you the finger. There's some anger in your field, and you know, it might be worth kind of looking into it. I've done sessions with people who had no idea they harbored shame or anger, and then they're in pain. You know, my whole body hurts. I've been to the chiropractor, I've been to the, you know, pain clinic, I've been to the acupuncture, blah, blah, blah. And in 30 minutes, 100% pain-free for good, like for good after decades. And it's really a testament to the power of this work of getting deep into the mind body and reintegrating so we can love and honor our grief, love and honor our shame, which is really one of the hardest things to do. Love and honor ourselves in anger. And all of these things you're speaking about, that's what allows the body to heal. I promise you, for people with those chronic problems like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, where there's this idea and assumption, even by the doctors, that this means blah, blah, blah. You know, it means you'll have it lifelong. It means you'll need medication. It means you're always going to have pain every day. Well, it doesn't mean any of those things. It doesn't mean any of those things at all. So there are amazing solutions, and this book is a great start for people who are wanting to explore that more fully.
Yay. Well, thank you so much, Kim, for joining us, for being part of the book, for choosing to just share and contribute all you know with everyone. And I'm looking forward for that book to come out tomorrow for everyone to buy and read your chapter. As I can get to hear, I'm getting like mini glimpses of everybody's, you know, chapter, and I'm excited.
It's incredible. I'm super, super excited. The more I learned about this and like different people, this book is absolutely going to be a game changer. It's going to have a profound impact in the world and really make a bang, make an impact. And I am so excited about connecting with you and a lot of the other authors. So I think we do something even bigger from here.
Hey,
thank you.
Like expand it to something bigger?
Exactly. Love you guys.
Oh my gosh. I just want to.
Okay.
I want to thank.
So much.
I want to thank Dr. Kimberly Duramo. I can never say her name. Anyway, she is actually chapter number 1. What I loved about her contribution was the mind-body was really understanding expansion from a mind-body perspective, and I love that. And as I loved hearing the continuity of consciousness between the work that Dr. Kim's doing in the world, the work Sylvia you're doing in the world. It's kind of wild, like the way everyone's kind of working together. And our next author joined us actually from Sweden.
Hi.
Hello. Yeah, we haven't even mentioned where everyone's coming from, but how exciting. So is it Stina or?
Yeah, Stina.
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, it's been so great following this hangout.
You've been watching it from the beginning?
Sorry?
I said you've been watching it from the beginning?
Yeah, I did, yeah. And it's in the middle of the night here, so...
Oh, well, thank you for staying up to join us.
Yeah, it's so much fun. And I loved hearing Dr. Kim just talking, because I studied energy medicine, and just, you know, having the doctors actually embracing that knowledge is so important now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have a doctor join us on the energy of expansion. Yeah, and what a contribution that is. And Stina, well, I mean, tell us a little about who you are. I mean, you live in Sweden, and a little about your chapter.
Yeah, so my chapter is about how I expanded into my healing abilities. Because I was always a healer as a kid, and then I kind of shut it off because I was shunned really in school, and the gentleness and the caring that I had was not received. And we all know how it feels when we care and we're shunned. So and then it wasn't until I was about 25 and my boyfriend was killed, and when I found this source, this connection to source, because I I was so sad he was going, and yet I could bless him in his leaving, which was so profound. And then he came to me and spoke to me, which led me actually to start writing, and thus I have the blog, Stina Whitelight blog, where I use words to carry the energy of the, oh, that looks so grand. Oh my God.
A little glimpse into your chapter from the inside of the book.
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah, so I use also the words to carry the energy of love and of caring. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So the space of expansion, it sounds like you had an experience that actually invited you to expand into a capacity, perhaps, or some of the gifts.
Yeah, yeah, and as I perceive it, like, you know, when someone dies like that, there's nothing else to lose. You feel like everything is just, you know, kind of on pause, and then everything is possible because nothing is impossible anymore. It's kind of like a conflict because you don't want the impossible to be, and yet it is. And then it took me a while to embrace the choice of actually embracing the possibility, you know, everything being possible. And we talked about this before, about what we resist and reactions towards others, and how we keep the points of views to keep us safe, like back doors. We keep our stories, and I kept my story for a long time as a back door. You know, he died, I can do this. He died, I can be sad. He died, you know. It became really important. Yeah, and it held me back. It held me back from everything until I was able to be an allowance of the sadness. And I started in a Buddhist group in my town, where I found this allowance of suffering. I was allowed to suffer and to be with it. It sounds really crazy, but that's what we're looking for. That's really what we're looking for. We want to find a space where we can be, right? And my mission is for us to have that space within, and to not rely on anything, and to have it, and yet feel the connection. So now I create this circle of magic, which is a new project for me, to invite people to have that kind of resting place, to have the connection, because we are all connected. It's all just energy. So to have an opportunity to embrace it and feel it and be it without any need, there's no way to go. There's no goal. There's no purpose. You are already everything. So yeah, it's just and the energy of expansion that I've written about is I think it's just being able to rest in that place of that knowing, because then you can go beyond your limitations, because you're safe. You feel that safeness, and I think that's what many of us have been looking for through ages. Thus all the religions, we look outside. We don't need to look outside. Yeah, I can talk forever.
There's a beautiful thing. No, hey, it's really your moment.
Yeah.
So there's a piece that you said, Stina, where you're like, you know, you finally had found a space where you were allowed to suffer.
Yeah.
And it was like you said, it sounds crazy, but it's almost like, wow, how many of us have a space, or even someone in our lives that doesn't judge what we're choosing, or, you know, or being, whatever that is. And it's almost like the gift when you do find someone or somewhere where you can just choose whatever, then there's space to change it. right? Or to choose something else, which is a beautiful gift. And in Access Consciousness, we talk about consciousness, being that space where it includes everything and judges nothing. And it's, where you can then be present to what is without needing to change it, but just like it includes it all.
Yeah, and if
it's possible.
Yeah, and if you're willing to include everything, then you can also have the choice, because everything is always present. So you can choose to know that you're fully supported, or you can choose to focus on that which you feel despair about. Right. Everything is possible. Everything is always there.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just talk about the things that we really judge, because I had this awareness of that the other day when I was kind of upset with my kids. I have 3 kids, and they can push every button like instantly. Yeah. So yeah, and I thought I judged my anger, and then I thought, well, that's a facet of me. For some reason, right now, this is a facet of me, and if I cut it off, I'm not me. And you talked about that also, to be angry, to allow. And if you allow, there's really no need to prove, and thus you don't react as much as you would. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that piece is like, what are we defending for or against in our lives? We brought up defend.
Yeah.
That keeps us in perpetuating whatever's not working. It's like, wow.
Yeah. And that's so funny, because when you start looking at it, it's like my 2-year-old, it's my 3rd child, so I'm kind of like, yeah, whatever. If she puts her sweater on, back flips, I'm like, oh, you want it that way, Frida? Okay. And I was not like that with my other kids, I can tell you that. And they're just it's so funny to have them about to who am I in contraction with, who's the opposite of this, why am I defending my point of view, to whom have I created outside of myself that I need to defend. And I can be alone with her, there's no one here. So who's going to look at me, come here and say, that's just in the head, right? Yeah. So, and we do it all the time, and it's called the mind.
Yep.
Yeah. So the energy of expansion is really outside of the mind, including the mind as a like someone who can work for us, keep track of stuff, but then go beyond the mind. Yeah.
And how does it get any better than that? And that has been a thread that we've all kind of talked about. It is that piece, from the beginning when John talked about that, it's like if we could have figured things out or changed it from the mind place, the cognitive, rational, we would have, right? The invitation in this book, The Energy of Expansion, it really is, from everything I'm hearing from all of you guys, it's like we all are just bringing it from a different path, a different angle of how to look at your life, and invite you to possibly, invite all the people to possibly just be open to, like, wow, what else is available here in the energy of expansion that might contribute to changing what's not working in my life? Yeah. Not from the wrongness of it, but are there things that people would like to change that they just haven't figured out how?
Yeah.
And or just maybe it might just be a different perspective, just a different awareness that might change it.
Yeah.
Well, we have a couple more minutes. Is there something else you'd like to share?
Yeah, well, we talked about the chakras before, and I worked a lot with the solar plexus chakra, the expression, and I think that's really the seed of gentleness, at least for me, to be gentle, to be in allowance, to not judge, and I think we're much too hard on ourselves, really.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah.
A bit.
And I think much of that can go away if you, like I heard a friend say to me, there's no emotion that you can have that none other has. We are all human beings, which gives a greater space of allowance to just, you know you're not alone. You can never be alone. I mean, we have the consciousness and the energy, but yet we're still individuals, and we identify and we think, oh God, I'm the most stupid person ever. But then, I mean, there are obviously different kinds of people, and but the thing is, like, there's the emotions and thoughts and thought packages that we create, like we put words after each other and then we make it into something. And I think we should just, go, oh wow, I put those words together. Interesting point of view. I have that point of view about that meaning. This is just package of energies. Like everything is just everywhere. So yeah, and I'm so enjoying the opportunity. Thank you, Erica, for being in the book, and it looks awesome.
Yes. And I think she even said that it's one of the thicker books out of all of them.
Yeah.
So far.
So don't we have much to share, huh?
I think so.
Yeah, it's been, and just the stepping into a place of neutrality about my gifts, and to just this is it. I mean, I don't have to prove it, and I don't have to go anywhere. It's just if you want it, sure, yeah. And I just want to be an example of a vibration that's possible. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Tina. Wow. Thank you so much.
And she joined us in
the last piece. I'm sorry, just that last piece is like being a vibrational invitation.
Yeah.
So that to know that it's possible. So thank you, Tina, very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yay, you're welcome. Erica, were you going to say something?
Well, when I met Stina, she had gotten connected through another woman named Sylvia, a different Sylvia in Access, and she connected me to Stina. And I do want to encourage everyone to go to her blog, because I felt this sense of connectivity to source energy, and I knew instantly the truth of Stina. So as she spoke, and Sylvia, couldn't you just feel that?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a full integrity. And I feel like so many of us seek that she has naturally.
Mm-hmm.
There's that integrity of expression that, Stina, you have, you own, you are. It's the truth of you. And it's something that others, because I work with authors from all over the world, others seek, essentially. And so I don't know if you get that about you, so I just wanted to sort of like, let you know there are no mistakes. And so when you see yourself on the book cover with Dr. Kim, who's fantabulous, right, and Dr. Lisa Cooney and Ashley Samatinos and some of the other people who had events they were already doing tonight and couldn't join us tonight, that really it was just a bringing in of that truth to our table, to say to people, pick and take and get, and have that smorgasbord of opportunity to see what could help you lift to that next calibration. And so that was all kind of just felt really good. So I was just so thankful that you could have time to come and play with us tonight and your tomorrow.
Yes, and that you stayed up this late. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tina. I look forward to reading your chapter.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's like, thank you so much for being on this planet. And thank you for so much for choosing to be the expansion you are. Like, I mean, that's the gift I think that I'm really perceiving from each individual that's showing up today. It's like, wow, what if you being that gift that you be more out in the world does invite more people through the blog and everywhere else. So you're welcome to stay on if you'd like, but I'm getting ready to announce the next two authors that are coming together. Yay! And actually, these I can introduce because I do know these two beautiful ladies.
Hi, Sylvia.
Hi. It's been,
Hello.
I don't see you guys. Did you shut your camera? There you go. It's been super fun to see this book come together and see so many familiar faces as well. So I get the privilege and the honor to, I get to play with both Heather Smith and Nirmala Kaufman. I am grateful that you guys are on here today to play together. The double whammy.
Thanks so much for having us.
So, I mean, I'm just going to let you both share a little something about yourselves, and you guys just take it away. And I may ask a question, I may not, but it's your time to share about your chapter, who you are, and what else is possible. So go ahead. Who's going to take it away first?
Well, we got 10 minutes early, and we just been laughing so much that maybe we can just start it like that. We both love laughing, and make sure that
So, I'm sorry, Nirmala, I'm going to interrupt you for a sec. There seems to be the internet's not coming in too clearly. You're chopping up quite a bit. So what else is possible there?
Hold on.
Okay.
Wait, no, back on. Sorry.
Spotty reception.
Spotty reception. It's on. We're good now, I think.
Okay. Go for it. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So for both of us, the energy of expansion is something that's just like a joyful way of living, and I know both of us see a lot of humor in life, and for me personally, I've always laughed inappropriately and found humor in things that I'm not supposed to. And I have kind of a warped point of view. So the energy of expansion for me was really like, what if it's possible to take anything in our life that is really serious or we've made really meaningful and significant and maybe judged a lot, because all of those things are energies that create contraction and smallness. And it's really a choice to do that, though, and I think I came in naturally just choosing things that go in the other direction. Things that were contracting or trying to make me smaller, I would just laugh like, haha, that's pretty funny, think you can make me smaller. So that's what I wrote about in the book. Introducing different ways that we can become more vulnerable and expand in the face of anything that shows up in our life, be it the good, the bad, or the ugly, no matter what it is. And so,
and it's interesting, Heather, that you say this energy about laughing, and it's such an energy that I know that when I'm with you, that energy of the joy in the play and everything, it does change. I could have whatever thing coming up, and it's almost like when you're willing to laugh about it, something changes there, you know. So so thank you for that incredible laugh that you have. That I so am grateful.
I love leathers.
Oh, really?
There it is.
When Heather and I are together, we laugh nonstop, pretty much all the time, no matter what we're talking about. And it's such a healing and caring and nurturing energy that for both my body and earth, and to me, that really is what the expansion is. It's always choosing towards the joy, and it's like being joyful for no reason, just because you can, basically.
That's possible.
Yes, it is.
That's funny.
They're gonna lock you up and give you a white coat.
One of the things I wanted to just say about the chapter that I wrote in the expansion book is that about allowing everything you've ever had in your life come towards you to contribute to. So allowing every molecule in the universe to contribute to, and every experience you've ever had, to like allow yourself to leapfrog from that and always become more from it, never less. And so I think that's the belly laugh. Like that's the joy and the expansion.
It's funny you said belly laugh. When I started to 4 years ago use a lot of the Access Consciousness tools and my life started to change, I hadn't noticed that what had changed, one of the things that had changed was my laugh. And it was one of my sisters who said, she goes, yeah, I was just talking to someone and they asked how you were doing. I'm like, she's doing this new work called Access Consciousness, but something's different. Like she's laughing from a really deep place. And I thought, oh, I hadn't noticed my laugh. And then I started to notice it, and there was just, I guess, so much more space, and so that laughter was coming from a deeper place. So it's funny you should bring that up, but yeah, that was one of the first things one of my sisters noticed. Hey, her laugh is changing. There must be something there.
So when you and I hang out, also, we laugh a lot.
A lot.
We find for both our bodies and also just for actually the earth and for anyone who's willing to receive it. I really do get that that laughing and joy contributes just about more than anything else I personally have ever experienced.
Yeah.
And one of the differences for me is that it's I realized just in conversation right now how much I laugh from being and laugh from truly having joy in what is showing up or the humor I see in it, or even like noticing the insanity of something. It's like it really it's not from judgment, and it's not from laughing at a person in a way that they're wrong somehow. And I just that's really different.
Yeah.
And it's really with whatever likeness.
You're still breaking up a tiny bit. Like there's moments where it's really clear and you're breaking up. So anything else you can do to change, any contribution there to have some more clarity with the streaming would be awesome.
We'll take.
I just wanted to show you guys your book. So here it is. So
yay!
This is the only copy printed until everyone orders tomorrow, and then a whole bunch more will get printed. Yay!
Yay.
So all the books are being printed, and I wanted to say, and maybe if there is a video, you could turn anything else you could turn off. Feel free to do that in your on your desktop there, Nirmada. But I just wanted to mention that Nirmada and Heather are both. Heather, I took a class from last summer on money, and it was actually about debt. And I wanted to say that it was interesting because she made the topic fun.
With money? Wow, that's a skill, Heather.
So she really did interject that Heather funness, and what could be more fun than that? And so maybe just help us with expansion, that people can feel a sense of like responsibility to grow. A lot of our readers are light bringers, and they feel this pressure, like I must be bigger. Even with Stina, who I guess she's maybe gone to bed since it's the middle of the night, or maybe she's watching from the in Sweden. But there's this pressure to grow, and how can that be lighter, or how can that be more fun when we look at expansion?
Yeah, so that's a so serious. I mean, can't emphasize enough what a difference that makes. And one of the ways that we do take ourselves seriously is by judging ourselves as wrong or not enough, or even judging ourselves as right, and like making it solid and real that our point of view is right and correct and true. All those are judgments that create an intensity and density. And heaviness that you're talking about, Erica, is a lot of it is that judgment that we're doing enough, that we're doing. What are the lies that we're...
I'm sorry, Heather. I'm going to interrupt again. Erica, I don't know if is it clear for you to receive? I'm wondering what else is possible, because we would so love to hear what you guys
I can
are
try
saying.
to move it closer, but I don't. This is.
Nara's going to try to adjust the Wi-Fi.
Okay. Perfect.
It's
Sylvia, why don't
Yes.
we let Sylvia just kind of like give us some of the highlights of her understanding of what they were saying, and then give them some space to see if we can get a better connection.
Well, what could I hear? There was just pieces I was hearing. What was your question, Erica, again?
So in that space of feeling pressure around needing to grow or needing to expand, and I even had a friend, that one of my Telesummit guests today, talking about this need to be expansive. And in that space, can you just feel the crunchiness of that? And
I want no part of it. It's like, hey, you need to lose weight. Forget it.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
That's
Can you hear us?
Beautiful. Go for it.
Okay, awesome. So, yeah, I love that you mentioned, that you brought up need. So need is a killer. A need is always that sense of lack, and the sense of what we're not being, rather than what can I be, what can I choose, what's already wonderful about me that I'm not acknowledging. And really stepping out of the wrongness and the need of ourselves is a huge catalyst for change in itself. For all the people that I've worked with around the world and in my own life, every time that me or anyone else to let go and let go of the judgment, just that one thing in itself, lightens. And that's a way to.
I don't think she can.
Yeah, I can see Sylvia shaking her head.
1, 2, 3.
I did an interview the other day. Fine.
Yeah.
I don't. I have the bars.
I could try my device.
Okay, we're gonna try doing a different device.
Okay.
So hold on. Do you have it here?
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna try.
If you can just put yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So she's going to get her other device, so we have a backup. So I would say that also, like, light workers are really aware. And so a lot of, like, when we go into the wrongness or the judgment, what we're not accounting is that we're just really aware of what other people are choosing, and it's not actually real for us. It may not be real for them either, but we buy it as ours. So I think that that's a whole nother thing about when you expand into the space of who you actually are. That's really the expansion. And something else I talked about in my chapter is never allowing anyone or anything to stop you. Like following your own awareness and your own knowing, regardless of what people tell you you can or can't do. So, can you hear okay?
Huge one. Yes. Keep going. Yeah,
okay.
That's a huge one, because I think, for all of us, I mean, I don't know, well, I'll speak for myself, but growing up, it was like, I recall certain times that I chose certain things or to say certain things, and I was whacked. I was whacked across the face, or I was, whipped with the belt, and it's like, oh, don't say that, I should do this, and it just kept making it smaller, 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 smaller. It's like, okay, I need to function like this, so I don't get slapped, so I don't get spanked, and so I don't get in trouble in school. And it's like, wow, I mean, how small have we made ourselves, that keeps us from really being all of us.
Exactly.
So this place of need that Erica just brought up, it's like, I kind of joked around, but it's like that space of like, oh, I need to lose weight. It's like, I'm sorry, there's no fun in that, but it's like this necessity, and it's like, where's the choice? Or even the question of, what is the weight about, or whatever. But it's like, yeah. So do you guys want to elaborate more on that piece of, the need?
Sure. Well, I think that it's like, if you look at the weight of this reality and the density of this reality, that's the opposite of expansion. And so it's like, you really have to choose, am I either functioning from what this reality says I'm supposed to be, or am I going to choose what I know works for me And there really is no gray area. It's either you're in or you're out. You're either choosing as you or you're choosing for someone else.
Well, and I'd add, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
So I'd add too that that it's actually a choice to buy into needs being real or to make a need real. So we can choose something else. You know, we may not have practiced choosing something else, but we actually do have infinite choices available at all times. And whenever we tell ourselves that we have a need, it's kind of a way that we diminish our own choices. Because if you believe that you have a need that you have to fulfill or you're not fulfilling, all those are looking at the choices you don't have. And it's like narrowing all your choices down to the smallest number of choices. And what if that in itself is just a lie that we're perpetrating on ourselves, and we actually have a million other choices? Like if you dropped the need, how many choices would you have?
Right. And also, just to add to that, when you go by need, you stop any future receiving from taking place. So you actually cut off your receiving. And I think that's, you know, expansion is really about what can you be and how much can you receive. That's so much of it.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that, Nirmada?
So with you need, it's really what can I be and how much can I receive. It's that joint being and receiving that actually creates that expansion.
Thank you. And it wasn't so much that I couldn't hear you the first time. It was just that there was a lot in those few words about.
Oh. Now then.
Yeah.
You know, I'm wondering, I think that we ought to do a little something to connect with everybody who's a viewer today about just like all of us, like just like expanding our energy and dropping our energy into the earth and just like doing like
energy expansion.
Let's do an energy expansion.
I would be well received. Thank you.
Before we start that, let me just say there are some issues with your audio. So if there's a time when you're talking where we can't hear you, I'll just kind of do something ridiculous to help you understand that, and then we'll let Sylvia talk.
Does that include nudity?
So, and you know what I was just thinking is how much.
Needs to show up.
You know what I was just thinking is how much could we expand on the energy of expansion Google Hangout? So I was just thinking that when Nirmada said, "Should we do an expansion exercise?"
I love it.
Well, we're all just a little aware.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So go for it.
So, should I start? You start?
Let's arm ourselves for it.
Pinky wrestle.
She'll go first. She'll go first.
So right here, just all this laughing, how much did that just increase your receiving, and you're just enjoying being there right now? So it's all those little things that we can choose right now to just lower our barriers, be right here, be here now, without all the other stuff that's going on in our life and in our world and in our day. Maybe just let's take a deep breath and relax, letting go of the day and everything else in our life going on. And just lower the barriers. It's not how, it's that you can. Just ask yourself to lower all the barriers to the infinite being you truly are. And lower your barriers to this beautiful earth and all the kindness and caring and gratitude that this earth has for us and our bodies. And lower our barriers to our own body and the awareness of our body. What would it be to include your body right now?
And to just, well, speaking of including your body, just be aware of whatever surface you may be on. Just be like present with your body and just feel the surface under you. And just allow your energy to go really deep into the earth and just allow almost like the earth to just embody you and to engulf your, just to cradle you as though you were a newborn baby. Oh, everyone take a deep breath. Belly breath. And expand your energy out in all directions. So to the edges of the room you're in, or if you're not in a room, to the edges of the block you're on in all directions. So up into the sky, down into the earth, in front of you, to the right of you, to the back of you, and to the side of you. And just be present and hear the sounds that you hear. And then to expand out 1,000 miles in all directions. Wow, I think that we have really expansive people on here. I got to go out 1,000,000 miles right now in every direction.
And thank you for that. When I said it would be well received, I was feeling, there was some tension in my head, and it just, as you did that, it lightened up a lot. So thank you.
Yeah, and how much further in every direction would you like to go? What space of being and receiving is beyond this reality, beyond this world, beyond everyone else's stuff? Go another 1,000,000 miles in every direction, including through the earth and beyond the earth, out into space around the earth. One more time, expanding in every direction, another 1,000,000 miles. And just notice the lightness and the space and the relaxation and the ease. So know that you can ask yourself to expand this way anytime. When you're sitting at work and you're all stressed out, just take a moment, feel your feet on the ground, feel the ground on your feet, and ask yourself to expand in every direction, including down into the earth, up above, in front of you, behind you, to the right, to the left, every direction. And anytime you're feeling stuck, you're feeling contracted, you're feeling heavy, just ask yourself to expand.
Yes, and I got the awareness too in this. I would like to dedicate my chapter to the earth. On the book. I just made that public announcement.
Well, beautiful ladies, you guys have about 8 more minutes before our next author comes in. What would you like to share with the viewers? You guys, about either your chapter, expansion, or anything else? Oh no, I think I opened it up for Nirmala.
I'll say that some of the things that Heather said about not buying your story is real. And Heather's one of my best friends, and she's like somebody that I call when I really have something going on where I've bought my own story, and I know that she never will. And she just and the more
vice versa,
and vice versa. But we laugh at each other, like with each other, and that like changes it. When I'll say something, she'll be like, "Okay." I was like, "Oh, cool. I'd just like to change that now, please." And so I think that so many people get caught up in what's wrong and what they can't change, and that they might relook at that not actually any of that is true, and that they have total choice. And if they just come back to the space of who they be and the expansive energy that they are naturally, you have a lot of different choices available. And how much fun can you have changing?
Yeah, I love it.
Right?
So I would just suggest that actually if you find yourself in those spaces where you're really down on yourself or really caught in need or whatever it is going on that you're feeling stuck in, use this expansion exercise that we just did and take all the energy you have going on and expand the energy of all of it. And one of the tools of Access Consciousness that's part of this expansion tool is that something that's a lie that you've either bought from other people or a lie that you're telling yourself, if you expand it, it disappears. And it just simply ceases to exist because it can't stay substantial when there's that expansive space. So it's a great way to start to get clarity about what's actually true for you, and a really simple way to just change the energy that is going on for you at the moment. So I invite everyone listening to play with that and use it in their everyday life.
And whatever you do out there, whatever. Oh, can you hear us?
No, yes. I want to have a question.
Okay.
I have you guys on, baby. I'm gonna milk it. Like, I'm gonna keep you like every minute you're here. Like, I'm gonna woo! Yeah, I'm into this, baby.
You go, girl.
I am like,
you go, Glessing.
So I just let's just hit up the judgment. Let's just really take that on. Like, how does self-judgment stop our expansion? We have this great idea. We want to do this. We have this little birth of a thought, of a seed, of something beautiful that shows up. And then, oh my gosh, someone stomps on it. So what can you tell us about kind of expansion and judgment, and what tools can you bring us? Because, the book is great, but I have both of you here, so...
You want to go first, or do I want to go first?
Okay. So really just the exercise that I just shared of expanding, you can also use it with judgments. So you can take that whole pile of judgments and the ways that you're making yourself wrong, or really trying to hold on that darn it, I'm right about this, and fighting for the rightness of your point of view. Those are all judgments. So you can take the same exercise, grab hold of the energy of those judgments, and just expand them, expand them, expand them, expand them, and keep expanding until it disappears. However much expansion is required until it becomes space.
Yes, and I would also just say is that it's just a daily practice and a muscle you build to just know judgment is not real. So when you find yourself buying it, you go, nope, I'm making a different choice. You have to just monitor yourself, because it's a bad habit that everybody learns, and it's just unlearning it and choosing something different.
And the one I love is when people judge themselves for judging. That doesn't help. Stop. Don't do it.
I'm so mad at me for judging me.
Yeah. Don't go there.
I think too, it's taking one step forward and knowing the direction you're going, regardless of the outcome, and to just keep choosing. Because if you choose if you choose something and it doesn't work, you can choose again, rather than getting caught that you made a wrong choice. You just keep choosing.
Yeah. Because it is an exercise, it is a muscle that you build by practicing. We're so well versed in judging ourselves and go to the wrongness of things. So it's going to take practice to undo that habit and start making new choices. So what would it be like to be kind and caring and nurturing with you, and allow yourself the space and the expansion of whatever that takes for you to get there, and just keep going.
And one other thing, which is that you can just say to yourself, wow, all that talent and capacity I have for judging, I'll use it for something that can create something now. Because it's like you're obviously powerful, it's just in a direction that's contracting you rather than expanding. Oh, and I think one other thing is that the earth doesn't actually have, if you tap into the earth, can you perceive judgment in the earth? And it's like it doesn't, and as soon as you ask that, it literally, that expansive energy, if the viewers can just, and all of you can perceive like the change in expansion just from realizing the earth doesn't have judgment, and like how nurtured we actually are.
It feels so good.
Yeah.
A real simple question of that is just ask yourself, where in the earth is the judgment? And it takes your mind to search for where the judgment is. And because there is no judgment in the earth, it creates that expansive space.
Yeah.
I like it. Yay! Great question, Erica.
Fun and easy. Thank you, Erica. That was a great question.
I love you guys. Thank you so much for including us.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's been wonderful to be part of a chapter as I'm getting to meet each author. It's like, wow, I can't wait to read the whole book. So thank you for coming on together. You guys were a phenomenal energy, and you got the system to work. So how does it get any better than that?
How does it?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Love you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Wow. Well, here we are in our last. I don't know how many. We have one more author, Erica, I believe.
I think Lisette and Arlene are coming. Lisette, are you here with us, honey? I see your video.
Yeah, I'm here.
Looking at my list. Okay. Yes, we have two more. It's
So,
the marathon.
The next two authors, I have to say, are actually niece and aunt. And Lisette Broussard was actually given some stories to tell from her father who passed. And so she chose to share with us this beautiful gift of expansion when you've experienced loss. And so it's a lovely chapter, and it's some lovely gifts. And yeah, so I'm going to go see if I can find some lighting and let you.
Yes, I have lighting. I can see. Is it Lisette?
Yeah, technically it's Lisette. A lot of people call me Lisette because it's easier to say, but my mom calls me Lisette. That's what she named me. So
Lisette.
Yeah.
Lisette, can you turn your camera on, or you have it off right now?
I tried to. Can you not see?
No, right now it's your beautiful picture. I mean, it's you.
I know. I keep trying to figure out because
But you were on in the beginning.
I know, and then there was a thing that came on, and it said, turn your video off. And I thought I was moving around too much, and I got in trouble.
If you move your mouse up above your circled picture, there should be a little icon that shows a camera.
Right, and so I'm hitting it, and then it says camera on, camera off.
Okay, so let it go to camera. When it says camera, click on it if it says camera on, and just give it a second. See.
So it says, yeah, it's been saying camera on for about half of the interview of your people, so I'm not sure what's going on now.
Well, we have a beautiful picture of you, so.
That's funny. I wish I could figure it out, though, so I could feel like I'm talking to you guys.
Well, one thing we could do, we could let your beautiful aunt go first, and why don't you keep messing around, and then ideally you'll come on in about 10 minutes, and we'll let our. Does that sound good?
And yeah, or the other possibility too, you can log off and then get back on.
Okay, that's a great way to start everything back up. So Arlene, welcome.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to be here. I've been hanging out, watching, participating.
Nice to have you, Arlene. Nice to meet you. And
nice to meet you, Sylvia.
I just got to hear that you're related with Lisette. So how great to bring the closing with both of you as authors of the book. Yeah, a pleasure to meet you, but I'd like to know more about you. What can you share with us? Just a little who you are. Yes.
So other than being Lisette's aunt, so I'm her aunt. I help women to demystify money, or to bring out the inner goddess in them about money. So that's what I'll say my natural gift has been. Mm-hmm. Something that I've been doing for the past, maybe 15 years. And Lisette,
we can see you.
I was missing some of you. Okay.
You made it. I love it. I love it. So welcome, Lisette. That's what my passion is around, is helping women, particularly women between the ages of like 35 and 50, because that's kind of the space where I figured all of this out, and just teaching what I've learned, sharing that. It's natural. It's something that I do, that I've learned to do out of a crisis, I'll say. Like I learned to do it when I ended up in a space where after a divorce, or in the middle of a divorce, I realized that me and my ex-husband hadn't saved very much money, and I was surprised. So I looked up and said, wow, I've been working all this time, he's been working, and we didn't end up with very much money to divide up between us. And that's what my chapter's about. It's about that journey and what steps I learned to take and how I ended up with $1 million of net worth for myself, and how I want to teach other women how they can do the same thing, or at least build wealth. That might not be their goal. They might not want $1 million, because that's not necessary.
I do.
She's like, I don't want it.
I'll read your chapter.
I'll have what she's having. I'll have what she's having.
Yeah, so that's the part of expansion that I wrote about and that I'm sharing.
Awesome. So you've been kind of following the thread, or the marathon. It's in the last stretch here, right?
Yes.
Has there been any new ahas for you about what the other authors are sharing, or anything new open up for you?
Absolutely. For me personally, there's so much that's been opening up from being a part of this, this book series, and also the Happy Telesummit. I've been, matter of fact, Erica, I've been watching every day, and it's been lifting me so much. Like, it's been so awesome to just hear all of the different authors. I mean, I'm blown away by the positivity and energy, and I just feel lifted. I mean, I want to listen to an author every day. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, every day I want to listen, and I listen to you, Sylvia. So I enjoyed your happiness telesummit video, or interview. So
Arlene is on tomorrow, so just everybody know that if you're signed on to the Happiness Telesummit and this is real time for you, you're not listening in the future, then you can actually go and listen to Arlene tomorrow. I feel like for me, as I bring in this energy of cash flow and money flow and getting out of the fear of money, I feel like as a single mom of 3, having gone through a divorce, one of the things that actually kept me in the relationship, maybe 7 or 8 years past when it was done, was the fear of being able to do it on my own, which is slightly irrational, because before I had kids, I did everything on my own. I mean, I moved out at 17. It was like I got work. It was like no big deal. But then with the kids, I was so afraid to make that place in the world. So I want you to just maybe listen to that fear I had of money, and maybe just answer for the other people who are listening, who might, because usually I just trust after all these years of interviewing that if a question shows up in my head, it's probably divinely given there. So what do we do? What do we do if we're scared of money and we're ready to change that?
You take a small step. You take a small step. A big part of why I was attracted to this book is because the topic is expansion. And there's a phrase that I say all the time, which is what you focus on expands. So if you put a little bit of focus, you don't have to spend all of your time on it, because I certainly didn't, and I don't. But if you put a little bit of focus there, what I find is that in your case, that fear causes you to avoid it, right? You don't do anything with money. So you're so afraid of it that you just avoid it, and you don't pay the bill until it becomes so late that you have to do something about it, or you just hope that the money's going to fall out of the air, and you just don't pay attention to it. But if you take one step toward looking at it, you'll find that you start to become more knowledgeable, and it starts to become easier. So I would say letting go of that that I don't understand it, I can't do it, it's too hard, and realizing that you have all that you need inside of you to understand how to manage your money. You truly do. Everyone does. And it's that putting that focus on it. So spending, maybe you spend 15 minutes today on looking at where your money is, and you'll find that it'll start to not be so scary. I think the avoidance and the procrastination, and I don't remember who was talking about the back door. You talked about that back door of the relationship that you were in, providing money.
Yeah.
That's one of the back doors. Like I was in a marriage, and when I got divorced, I didn't know what financial net worth was before that, or I should say I never thought to calculate it for myself. Like, why would I do that? I figured you're married, you work, and you put your money in your savings account, and you spend money, and the 401k was going to take care of you. And that didn't work. But once I got divorced, I was like, whoa, I've got to figure this out by myself. So you better, I said I better start looking at it. So for me, it was that situation of being on my own that caused me to do it. And like you, I would say the fear, the part about the fear is you just have to start. I don't know. It's like everyone's talking about belief and thoughts and believing in the impossible. Our belief system is a big part around why managing money is hard, because we believe that we shouldn't focus on it, but really we should. Really, we want to. We want to make that a part of our focus, just like anything else you focus on. Being happy. It's I think Heather was talking about it. You were talking about it's a responsibility. It is. No one's going to manage it for you. We all want it. You all need to do it for ourselves.
So I think there's that piece you just mentioned too, like not avoiding it or not willing to look at it. And like everything we've made it mean, like I don't know about money, or yeah, I think for me growing up I had bought in the story that I didn't know about money, or that I misused it, or that, so it was like just becoming more aware. It's like, oh, what if that isn't true? And so I had a similar story in the sense that when divorce came up, I shared. It's like that first thought was like, I can't do it on my own. And I thought in that moment, it's like, how many women choose to stay in a marriage, or men, both sides choose to stay in a marriage, and that's one example. It might be a job, it might be something else, but because they don't see the possibility of actually creating even more or beyond that keeps them locked up.
Yeah.
So that journey, you're right. It's money. Oftentimes, it's something like, oh, I'm not smart enough. I can't understand it. That I'll just avoid it and keep doing what I'm doing, and never really truly create that wealth. So when you said take that first step, so just continue.
So a step that you can take is just to say, I want to have zero debt. I want to get rid of my debt. So it's picking one thing to focus on. And what will happen is, it's like when so one of the tenets of what I talk about is that you have to have a target, and it's like it's goal setting. If you don't set a target and say, I want to get to zero debt, or I want to save $10,000, or I want to save $500,000, which was what my first goal was. And then once I got there, I went to $1 million. I said, oh my gosh, I saved $500,000. I'm going to go to $1 million. Like once that became possible and I got there, I went, wow, I'm here. I'm going to keep going. But it's setting a target. If you don't have a target that you're going toward, then you're never going to reach for it. So set a target, set a dollar target amount. And for those who have a lot of debt, I would set zero. I want zero debt. And what will happen is, the universe will start giving you information around how to get out of your debt. See, the whole idea around our thoughts create our reality. Our thoughts manifest things. You're going to start, coming across people and tools and situations that allow you to reduce your debt. It's like magic, right? It really is. It truly is. Once you set that target, then you're going to start to get all the information coming to you. And then you're going to start to, so the other important piece is habits, right? So one of the habits, like what I do is very simple. I'm not a Wall Street investor. I don't do all those things. That's not how I've created my wealth. I track what I spend, which just means I save receipts and I enter them into an Excel spreadsheet. So I know what money I'm spending, but not so much because I really want to know that number, more because that practice causes me to be conscious of what I'm spending. I know that I'm going to log it into a spreadsheet. So it's more what it creates. It makes it so I'm just not spending willy-nilly, is what it does. It creates a consciousness in me so that I buy things that I truly want, not things that somebody else wants, so I think I should buy it too. Right? So it makes me more conscious. Right? It makes me buy the things that matter to me.
About
what?
It's almost like there's something I've actually resisted, I think, for many years, and it's budgeting. But you actually just gave something a different perspective, and you're like, it's not about like tracking, so you like only spend a certain amount, but you're like, just so I'm aware. And so that's a beautiful invitation. It's just like, where is my money going?
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful invitation. Like when we can do it without the judgment, it's like, where is it going? And the willingness to look at it, and then
yeah, all it does is raise your consciousness.
I like it.
And then I still buy things, but it just causes me to, be conscious of it. Yeah. And it's not to be uptight about it. It doesn't have to be exactly right. And if you forget a receipt, so what? Like, don't make it so I have to get it exactly right. It's more about the habits. It's more about the habits.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's that piece of, you mean not to judge us for losing a receipt or not hitting it on a penny? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Arlene, I am so glad you could come. I'm so glad you're in the book. I'm so glad you're a best-selling author. Our book is best-selling right now. It's on the best-selling track right now. So it's already gone from like 3.4 million. It's already ranked up in the 100 and something thousand. So it should be doing that climb right now. By the time this Google Hangout is live for everyone, we're probably going to be in that top rank. And so I want to thank you for joining us for that. And I'm so delighted to turn it over to Lisette. And there's just something really beautiful about Michael, your father, coming to hang out with us, because I can sort of feel his energy and be in this book with us. And Sylvia, I couldn't help interjecting and connecting this all together, because when I have to say one more thing about Lisette. When we met, it was hysterical. Oh my gosh, we love basketball. We went to, oh my gosh, we love rap music.
We manifested like crazy.
Oh, we write rap lyrics.
Good manifestors together. You've become a very, very good dear friend of mine for life, I feel. And it's been such an honor to have met you, to be a part of this. And I just love you. And thank you so much. And you are so fun. We had fun. We had so much fun. We had so much fun. It was crazy. Yeah. So I feel that my dad, which is kind of sort of what inspired me to write. However, it first started with my brother when I was 22. Well, even before that, my brother was 17. I was a year and a half older than him. I was in college and he was diagnosed with cancer, and I'd never had any experience with cancer. I was in college at UC Santa Barbara and got a phone call from my mom, and I'm very close with my family, and they were in Sacramento, and she called me to tell me that my brother was diagnosed with cancer, and he had been in pain for a while, and it was attributed to, the doctors kept saying he probably got hurt in football because he was a football player, a baseball player, and he was kind of smaller. So they thought, he did something to a disc, and they would give him medication, Vicodin, and it started getting to a point where the medicine wasn't working. And so finally my mom one day took him to emergency, and she would not leave until they gave him an x-ray, and they found a tumor the size of a grapefruit in his hip. And I wasn't there at this time. This is what my mom told me later. But so my mom, made the phone call and told me, and going back to that, I was just lost. I had no idea what that was, what that meant. I really had a nervous breakdown, and I was 19, and the end of my freshman year in college. And then I finished my time at school, and my brother would do the chemo, and I went to go see him, and kind of what is going on in your life becomes your normal when you're in it. And so, well, that was our life. My brother has cancer, he's doing chemo, and he'll recover and we'll go on. And he had a surgery to remove his tumor, and he did chemo for a year, and he went into remission. And him and I were very close, being close in age, but again, I have a younger brother, and we're super close, and he's about 7 years younger than me. But so, you know, he came to visit me in college once he got better. He actually ended up going to San Diego to go to college at Grossmont and just really didn't let that stop him. I mean, he was on a cane after that, and he just didn't stop. Nothing stopped him. He was just such a positive guy, such a fun guy, had so many friends, and didn't let anything get him down. And so, you know, we remained close, and he ended up moving home from Grossmont College, and it was right before I was graduating, and he started feeling sick again. And the doctors had already told my family that if it came back, it was he was already on such an aggressive, you know, lot of chemo, that if it were to come back, the prognosis would be, you know, pretty, not very good. So it came back, and I had just graduated college, so naturally I went home, and my brother was in a very peaceful place with what was given to him, and it was very interesting, in meaning that so I think about 6 months after he was diagnosed again, he passed. I kind of don't remember a whole lot of the details, so my mom kind of reminds me, because it was very painful for me back then. And anyhow, but he was in a place where he had mentioned to me and several others that I've had conversations with that he would say things like, "You guys need to let me go home." He did not want to do the chemo again, and it wasn't because he was giving up. It was because he just had this comfort of what was going to happen next. It's really hard to explain, except for I saw it and I didn't understand it. And then, you know, once we finally kind of as a family accepted that, you know, he was passing and we're going to let life take its course, I mean, right after we went in and said goodbye to him, he was gone. I mean, the next day he kind of was unconscious, and then the next day he passed. And I wasn't there at the time, and again, it was very difficult for me. My mom was there, and she said when he passed, he raised his hands up, like, you know, to a light, you know, up in the sky. And so she said it was very beautiful. I mean, that's how she explained it. It was just very peaceful. So, you know, time goes by, and I started just really having questions, like, what is this? What did he know? What was going on here? So I have spent all of my free time studying just, you know, different teachers like Deepak Chopra, Neil Donald Walsh, all these people, and just read a lot of stories of near-death experiences, and love this energetic place I've found. And so, am I still there? Like I disappeared.
Yeah, you're still there.
Okay. I disappeared. I went into the other place real quick. So you know, all this. So it's almost been, in June, it will have been 13 years.
Wow.
I believe, since my brother passed, and I've just felt like before it was like I was blind and now I can see. I really feel like after, you know, learning about, you know, life and death and spirituality and energy, I live in a place that is so expanded, and it reaches beyond the physical world, and it's awesome. And kind of something happened in 2013. My dad fell sick, and in fact, my dad was. We all kind of got this spiritual charge during this, and my dad started writing a book, and he was writing a book for about 8 years, and it was called Clear, and it was about tapping into that positive energy and spreading good energy upon the world, and just getting in the flow of life type of thing. And we talked a lot, you know, just about the work, about other authors, and you know, just about the energetic universe. He was a chemist, so he's very scientific, and he ended up falling sick and went to the doctors, and it turned out to be stage 4 colon cancer that had metastasized to his liver. So we got the word in November, and I was living, you know, I ended up buying a house a block, or not a block, like couple miles from my parents' house. So, you know, after the loss, it's just we were already very close, but we stayed very close. So, but he went to the doctors, and his blood, you know, was all off the charts, and so it turned out he had, you know, stage 4 cancer. He ended up passing away a month later, a little bit over a month. He was diagnosed in November, passed away in December. He ended up going into the hospital, and my Aunt Arlene, who's on here, bless her heart, she came to visit and, you know, just help the family, and I feel like her and I were holding this space of just positivity and life, and spirituality. And I mean, we would go in there, it was around Christmas time, we would sing Christmas carols, my dad would make fun of us. And we were just happy and just like letting that be in the hospital room. And it was really a wonderful experience to be, you know, I mean, I think some might think that sounds odd, but it really was. And what the experience I had with my dad was I have never felt loss since his passing. I've only felt connection. I felt so much more connection. I mean, it's unbelievable. So really, it just is a testament to what I've learned and practiced in meditation and in hypnotherapy and other things I do. I've learned to tap into this other universe where I feel like I can communicate, you know, in a non-physical plane and be there with my dad. I know he's here right now. I know my brother's here.
Turn it off.
Are you guys there?
I'm here. I can see you, hear you.
You guys can? Okay, because I keep losing in the background. But
Well,
anyhow,
I can't hear Sylvia anymore. Sylvia's frozen.
So we're just about heading out of this this marathon of expansion. Yeah. So I am just amazed at all of the authors who came and shared, and I am so grateful for all the stories that you all shared. I feel like, Lisette, with your story of expansion following someone passing is so beautiful, and I do feel that when someone passes, there is a shift of saying, what am I doing with my life? Mm-hmm. You know, there's this thing that happens for me when my mom passed of what am I doing with every day, because it could just all be gone in a minute. And so I love that. I feel like it's such a perfect way it all worked.
And can I say
all of our authors. So yeah, and then I'd like Sylvia to take us out.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. So it's just the quote from Albert Einstein that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only change form. You know, that's paraphrasing it, but that's exactly what it is. It's like I've learned that the physical body is, you know, it just changed. My dad changed, and I feel like he, you know, the personality and other things, there's things that are still similar that are there that I can sense. But I just wanted to share that quote because that's just a huge life love of mine, that saying, and energy in itself and life. Love it.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. And yeah, like what else is possible beyond what we thought was possible? So and that's been, this marathon has really been that gift to have everybody share something different about what they know about expansion. And Erica, oh my gosh, it's like a couple minutes and we're almost at the finish line. It's like, wow. Yay! It feels like a happy, like a new year, right? Like the
yeah.
And just super excited. And what else is possible? I mean, some of the authors have chatted in and written little notes afterwards and said, hey, what else can we create? What else? Because we're all getting to know each other and what we're up to, what we're doing in the world. And it's always so fun to see what other people are creating. And yeah, so I look forward to reading your chapters. I look forward to maybe playing on another book. I know Erica has, you know, a couple other books coming out, and just a really wonderful way for each one of us to come together to share a little more of what we know is possible out in the world and invite other people to either be inspired or to at least begin to have the questions for themselves. What do they know? So all you viewers watching now, what do you know? What do you know about the energy of expansion? What is that for you? And I so hope that you all go buy a book tomorrow and really contribute to this book being a bestseller out in the world and having more people discover what it is that they know about the energy expansion and really creating a planet that we all would love to have. So big hugs to all the authors. Erica, an applause. Thank you for being the catalyst for this book in following your own knowing. You were always in the question, too, with this book, with the authors, with the order of the chapters. I mean, all those places that you would share. So thank you for continuing to be on that journey and discovering what else the world would like to receive. So I now conclude our marathon. Woohoo!